Evening, everyone. This is our December 10th meeting of the Littleton Planning Board. Our agenda, we start at 6 o'clock this evening, and we'll have our proposed agenda is 6 o'clock to 6:15, board business and public input and updates. 6:15, we have a public hearing for the water resource special permit, 80-year road. 6:35, we have water resource special permit for 75 Great Road. 7 p.m. continue public hearing, retail marijuana establishment, 160 Air Road. And last but not least, at 8 o'clock, we have a continued public hearing, major commercial industrial use special permit, water resource district special permit, 151, 153 Taylor Street. Thank you. So we have everyone here but Jerry, but we will get started. So we have, why don't we start off with bills, and we'll do the easy stuff. Bills and payroll, Maren, are we all up to date on that?
Yes, we are. I sent you or Lucia sent you payroll today, and you signed one bill earlier this week. Thanks for your help with that.
All right. How about board member updates? Does anyone have any updates?
Sure, hold on.
Lisa, do you have anything you want to talk about the train station very quickly, or you want to? We're good with that.
Yeah. Lauren, do you have anything to say? I'm too tired to even think about the train station right now.
So actually, Littleton Station Area Committee met last Thursday, just before the last planning board meeting. Went through the outline for a design guidelines, and Peter Flinker will provide a draft design guidelines for the committee on December 22nd. And then it'll be ready for public outreach and planning board review starting in January.
Okay. Then we had the Affordable Housing Trust meeting, Maren, and we're going over the voucher program and trying to do get more of the word out through social media about the 2 voucher programs that the town is offering. That I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think the good piece is every month that the rental assistance program has been open, we've seen growth and new applicants. So while it's not robust yet, it is growing. So.
Yes. Good. How about minutes? November 5th, November 12th, and December 3rd. Does anyone have any issues with them?
No, but I just wanted to go back real quick. I did have an update.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Anna.
Okay. So the meeting that we had on November 12th, in which we discussed the housing definitions, specifically independent living. So it would be good to be able to discuss those in January. So I'll work with Maren and Mark and try to draft up something, and hopefully then we can have that for discussion, and if possible have it be on the Springtown meeting agenda as well. I'm on IMPEC. However, we have only had one meeting this fall, and we will be having a next meeting sometime in the new year. So that's my quick update.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? Jerry's getting on slowly. Well, actually, Jerry, since you just jumped on, do you want to? You had we're talking about public board member updates. Do you want to update us on the conversation you had with the Agricultural Commission, you and Margaret Scott?
Yeah, I think we should have a conversation like with the board, just about like what sort of some of the feedback's been, observations, and maybe what direction we might want to go with any of that, if any at all. I mean, I have my own opinions, but I mean, it's really, I mean, I don't want to get into like the details of what we were talking about, but I think we need to talk about how we want to format this bylaw, what some of the options are, what some of the feedback was on some of the options, and then talk about, I mean, how do we feel about some of the things that are not, some of the more indirect ways to use TDR, not the direct ways.
Okay. No, I just wanted to make the board aware that you had the meeting with Mark, and that
Yeah, we had the meeting. I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth. There's one vocal member off of that group that's been driving the discussion, not necessarily AdCom directly, just one individual. He's got some good points, but I just think we need to figure out how we want to proceed in regards to, like, do we want to keep the current text? Do we want to change anything?
Well, I saw the letter from Mark that we still have a couple $1,000s of his money left. Maybe we should schedule another meeting and decide which way we want to go with it, maybe in January at some point.
Yep, it's my understanding that the Agricultural Commission was going to try to meet soon as well.
Yeah.
But with town hall closed this week, I would imagine that threw a wrench into that process. But they wanted to provide official feedback from the entire committee to the planning board for the next discussion.
Good.
Again, we could do that. January will be on track for May town meeting if you decide to.
But then we gotta run, but the thing is, we gotta run to the selectmen, and then we gotta go. I think we should probably talk to Concom
Yep,
as well,
Yep.
and then just
it's
figure
more
out.
outreach, you're right.
Yeah.
Looked like AgCom was actually having a meeting tonight at 7:30 based on the town calendar.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Okay,
I
so
want to know, like, I think we want to at least bring it back to this board and get your feedback to see, like, what do you think about the feedback that's been given, and what do you want to do with it? Like, do we want to rewrite some of that bylaw? I mean, I don't think there's anything controversial about what's being said. I think they're really arguing about, like, what is the value of some of these things and who benefits, and is it how easily administratable is it? And then I guess from my standpoint, I have some thoughts about some of the programs this has been modeled on. So I kind of want to hear from you all, like, what you think about those things as well. Because I have problems when transactions are not contemporaneous. I mean, why would we ask anyone to take the risk? So
okay, so why don't we'll wait to hear back from them, and then we'll schedule a meeting with probably everybody involved. We'll probably loop everyone in.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so moving on, minutes from November 5th, November 12th, December 3rd. Does anyone have any questions or issues with them? Oh, I'm seeing nobody shake their heads. Lisa, Jeff, Jerry, nothing. We're good. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 5th, November 12th, and December 3rd as written. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Jeff,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Anna,
Yes.
Delisa,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thank you. Thank you all. Last but not least is minutes, meeting scheduled for 2021. Can't believe we're talking about January of next year. Oh my God. So, obviously we're still going to have our Thursday meeting. The issues, and I think the reason Maren put this on here is the issue is whether, as we get closer, we're going to start having two meetings a month. Is that a good guess, Maren? Oh, you muted yourself? I can't believe it. How come you're mute?
I was trying to type something and I didn't know how much of that sound comes through.
Oh,
So yes, between all the work we have, all the applications we have in front of us, plus the work for Springtown meeting, my recommendation is to put 2 meetings a month on the calendar for at least January and February, probably March as well. And that way we don't run into as many scheduling problems as we did last year.
I would agree. It's just on the calendar. If we don't need them, we don't use them.
yeah, I think we're gonna get busier. Maybe not January, maybe not. Yeah, maybe from February on, I think.
You know, one of the things we could also consider is that second meeting that is in our typical meeting, that we really reserve that only for Springtown meeting stuff, so that we try to, just keep moving whatever items we have moving forward, and that way that'll make that second meeting a little bit shorter, hopefully.
Quicker, yeah. Okay. How does the board feel about that? And what dates do we want to have it on? We want to have our first meeting on the first Thursday and our second meeting on the third Thursday. Do we want to do it that way?
I sort of like the way this month worked out, where you have the first and second, so that there's some break, from anyway, that's just my opinion.
So you're
I
gonna
don't mind this.
lump them close together, then have the rest of the month
Yeah.
off. It's fine with me, about the rest of the board. Do you care if we do the first 2 Thursdays of the month and then hopefully coast a little bit? I don't know if anybody can really coast. I know we're all on multiple boards and going to different meetings. Thank God there's Zoom. But anyway, first and second meeting with month and Thursdays are fine with me. What about Jerry? Do you care?
No, I mean, not right now. Spring will be a little different.
Okay, well, why don't we leave it that way then? Anna, what about you? You all right?
So I have a real problem for January. So if we could do the 1st and 3rd for January and then do the 1st and 2nd for February and March, that would be great for me.
Okay.
That's
Anybody
fine.
else have an issue with that? That's fine. Jeff's fine with that. Lisa, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, good. Great. I don't care. Jerry, you don't care, right? No. Nobody, we're not going away. I can't go anywhere, so I'm good every month, every week. I'm good. So I'm stuck in Littleton.
As soon as I get a shot, I'm going away.
What?
As soon as I get a shot, I'm going away.
I'll get your shot away. Yeah. Where are you gonna go?
Can we get the planning board designated as essential care workers or whatever, and move up in the line?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. No. But if you maybe got the shot, Jerry, where are we gonna go? Where are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go skiing.
Oh, skiing's fine. And they don't care about up north. The virus can't live in that.
I heard they're finding kids coming back and forth from Mass to New Hampshire using their easy passes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not. You got to be kidding me.
All right. I was in New Hampshire today. Nobody stopped me, but I was only in Nashville.
Just don't use
Anyway.
your easy pass.
Okay. Anything else? Are we good for our business up till 8:15? Can I start the public hearings? Anybody else have anything else to add?
No, go ahead.
All right. Nobody else? You're good. Anna, you're good. Jeff?
I'm fine.
Everyone's good. Delisa. Okay. All right. So we have an 8:15 public hearing, Water Resource District special permit for 80 Air Road. This is the batching plant on the eastern side of Great Road. Air Road. The
Yep.
old Sandbell. Do we have anyone to speak about this, Mara?
So I'll read the public hearing notice, and then Kirby has the list of people who are to be promoted, as far as I understand.
Yeah, Mara, just double checking, you've got one person in the attendees list from GPR, but with no name.
That'd be my guess.
Thank you. Very good.
And then they'll let you know if there's somebody else
Okay.
to be brought in. So public hearing notice, the Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, December 10, 2020 at 6:15 p.m. to consider the application for a Water Resource District special permit pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A and the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning under sections 17361 through 17364 and site plan review under section 17316 through 17319 of the Littleton zoning bylaws. Property location 80 Air Road, applicant owner TMC Leasing LLC, care of Middlesex Materials Management, Inc. The applicant is seeking special permit approvals to allow a modified redevelopment plan and use of industrial zoned property. The proposal is to construct 2 new cement silos and truck scale and associated improvements at the location of this existing concrete batching plant. Access to the town offices is currently limited to the declared state of emergency. It goes through saying that this will be a Zoom meeting, and please call the planning board office 978-540-2425 with any questions. Applications and plans are posted to the town website. If you have questions, email or call me. Signed, Jeff Yates, planning board clerk.
Thank you. Do we have somebody to make a presentation to us, Mara, with plans?
Good evening. Bruce Ringwald from GPR. And I just wanted to introduce that we're obviously new to this project. Been brought on recently. Kyle Bouchard from our office will be doing the presentation this evening because you guys seen a lot of me lately. So I'll give you a new face. Turn it over to Kyle.
Thanks, Bruce. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us on tonight. As Lauren read, this project is at 80 Air Road. If I can just share my screen, I'll just kind of go through the submittal letter highlights and then move on to a couple of images of the project to help give some orientation to it. So if everyone can see, this is the letter from Ross Associates that accompanied the application. Just a couple of highlighted quick points to hit on this, that this is a result of originally a 2016 application that was proposing to remove 11 existing silos of various material, including the cement. Just to clarify, there is a difference between the dry cement, the Portland cement, typically from wet concrete. So we're talking about the dry component of the wet concrete mixture that will be stored in the proposed silos. There had been 11 of those on the project, on the property, and that 2016 plan also was dealing with the reconstruction of demolishing and reconstruction of the concrete batch plant. And the proposal had been to construct 3 new silos along with that new concrete batch plant. And those 3 silos would have the dry cement that would help to feed the concrete batch plant and would also be used for distribution elsewhere around to other concrete manufacturers. So there's also in that application in 2016 was a rail siding coming off of the commuter rail that's adjacent to the project, as well as some rail car storage. The updated modification to that plan now shows only 2 cement silos and a truck scale instead of a full enclosure. The previous proposal in 2016 had a complete enclosure around where the trucks would come and load and offload the dry cement. Still has a rail siding proposed, still has rail car storage proposed, and there are groundwater monitoring wells proposed and have been discussed and coordinated with Littleton Water. There's no additional impervious area proposed with this project. It qualifies as a redevelopment, and we're meeting those standards to the extent practicable. And the existing stormwater system as it exists meets the standards to the greatest extent practicable. We're not proposing any modifications to it for this project. There was a previous major industrial use special permit that was issued by the Planning Board in 2013, as well as a special permit for work in the Water Resource District. So I'm just going to jump to a picture from 2016 after, or right as this previous project in 2016 was being approved. Here's kind of the open air concrete batch plant, the 11 silos that were there, and certainly there's a lot of trucks that were running in and throughout here. So then we jump forward to when they had completed, or they were in process of doing that work. They had not yet constructed the new cement silos, and you can see that, you know, we just have paved area versus all the additional infrastructure that was there. We have a much cleaner, more efficient type of plant with an enclosed area for the concrete to be poured. And right along in this area, as we'll see on the site plans, is where the truck scale and the other silos are being proposed. There is this is this 2016 plan just for reference for the board, with the concrete batch plant, the elevator that connected the aggregate to the concrete batch plant. The hatching shows the former concrete plant footprint, and this shows where the 3 larger silos would be proposed, with the truck enclosure in this area and the 11 other silos that were to be removed. So those silos have been removed. The concrete batch plant has been removed, reconstructed. Now we have what our proposal is currently to construct the scale along with the silos. There's an equipment container which helps to mitigate some of the noise that comes from the various dust collections systems that are associated with these silos as they offload and load the dry cement from the trucks. So you see also the rail siding as it comes off of the main line, rail line, and comes back and extends back into the property, the existing parking area, and has some sand and aggregate unloading area, and this is where the car storage would be. So that is the proposal, not adding any impervious area, adding in various monitoring wells, and those also are coordinated directly with Littleton Water. They're slightly different than what's been shown on this submitted plan as coordinated, but generally in the same locations. So that is the project in a nutshell. Are there any questions from the board that I can start to address?
So this is a continuation of what was already approved back in 2016, right?
It's actually it's a modification to that plan, yes.
It's actually a reduction of 15 to 20% of what the previous site setup was.
So if we go back in time, since I was the only one on the board back then, we approved the Middlesex Sandbell aggregate portion of this side of the road had been dormant for a while, and they wanted to start it up and start it pre-stress aggregate division. So we approved them in, if you say 2013, I guess it was 2013, to modify the plan, put a new facility over there get rid of the 11 old-fashioned silos and put 3 new silos in, and clean up the site a little bit. And it was going to be a batching plant over there. What we have now is a little more than just a batching plant over there. So, you're proposing to put the train tracks in, but there's all kinds of stuff in storage over there. The picture you showed, Bruce, is nice of the 10 or 12 batching trucks there, but after that, there's all kinds of cranes and things like that were not part of the site plan at the time, and we approved it as a batching plant. So I have no problem with modernizing it even further like we've done in 13, but I think we need to know what's going on at the site. It's more than just a batching plant right now.
So,
Mark, just so you know, I voted on this.
Oh, you were on it too in 13?
I was on in 2016, yeah.
All right, okay.
certainly, the application in 15-16 was for what is there now or what is being proposed now for the batching plant and for the silos or bins to maintain and allow for the use of the Portland cement on site as well as off site to others. It has to come into the site and it's stored and then it can be shipped off. All of the other uses, you say there are other uses on the property. All the other uses are stuff that were approved in 2000, well, approved previously, a long time back, but in 2013, it was 16, not 13, but in 2013 was the major industrial use special permit which it listed off all of the things that are going on there, including concrete batching plant, accessory structures, compliant floor area up to 11,972 square feet, a building with a mixed-use garage, office maintenance and repair, warehousing, and storage, and such other uses permitted by right or by special permit in the industrial district with a combined gross area of 45,880 square feet of gross floor area and outdoor storage of equipment, vehicles, and materials on the remainder of the property within the existing gravel and paved areas. So
Yeah, but it was,
there's nothing new on the site, Mark. It's all the same.
No. My only concern is, and it came up back then too, was noise mitigation for, I don't know if you want to call them abutters, but like Bruce Street. And it looks like you already got 2 letters. I don't think you guys have a habitual complaint on that site, but there has been a few incidents, right?
That's
So
correct.
is there any type of sound monitoring to sort of validate any of that? Which wouldn't be unusual for an industrial site, so at least they could show what the decibel levels were during that time.
There has been a sound study that was done that was associated with
Way
the
back,
2016. It has been updated, and there is an act, and that permit in 2017 was issued by DEP, has been updated to account for the change because it's a slightly different configuration. I guess there's, if I can just show this a little bit. So this slightly different configuration has,
You're not showing anything, Kyle.
Pardon?
You're not showing it.
Oh, my mistake. If this is the general layout of the proposed facility, and maybe if I'll just zoom into one, if we want to go around to any of these others, we can. But this kind of axonometric looks the cleanest or easiest to determine. So the trucks come up onto the scale and they load up. This container on the ground helps to mitigate the blower noise, as well as there are baffles and so on over the dust collectors on the tops of these silos, which has all been gone back through DEP to update that permit so that permit is consistent with what is being proposed to you right now.
Yeah, and I don't. The comment wasn't around the general operation. It was around sort of like a one-off incident where you have a truck comes in with hardened cement, and they got to get that cement out to run the truck through again. So like that type of work that happens occasionally, there should be some type of mitigation for that, so someone doesn't hear that hammering noise again. Like that was something above and beyond, I think, the intended use, right? So if they're going to do that to trucks there on site, there should be some type of mitigation for that.
They
I
should
thought
do
the
it.
noise was also from the train cars moving in, right?
Yeah, that was the other comment, that the train cars were making a lot of noise too.
If they're gonna have to deal with their equipment, first of all, they shouldn't be doing it on a Saturday and Sunday. And if they are gonna do it, they should be inside.
Oh yeah, again, but if they're going to do it, they at least create a facility there that allows that noise to be mitigated.
Well, they should do it inside the building. This is the same thing as the issue we had with the Stone Yard when it was in on.
Right, and if they're going to exceed the bylaws that govern noise for industrial,
Decibels, yeah.
then they should be monitoring that and act accordingly. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is this isn't the only site that people are complaining about, and there's some other operations around town that have gotten complaints recently. And I just think, we're not a huge town, so there's not a lot of big wide open spaces to mitigate this kind of stuff. I just think we just need to be sensitive.
Totally agree.
I agree.
Definitely. Yep.
Okay. Does the board have any other input?
Yeah, the other complaint that I've received is lighting,
Yeah.
especially with these tall structures. The houses that are across the wetlands that are on Old Harvard Road in Bruce are, up on like a little bluff. I think you've got to specify night sky lighting or something that works for of course you want it to work for your operations, but people shouldn't have to have a light in their window.
Right. Yep.
Totally agree.
Agreed, and just to point out, there's no lighting. These are fairly short overall. I mean, yes, they have some height to them, but they're not approaching the height where they need lighting for aircraft safety or anything. So
Mhm.
there is no lighting associated with these.
Okay.
It's the noise and the sprawl that's taken. I have no problem with approving what was proposed 5 years ago. To modernize the plant and everything else like that. The issue I have is whether it's the plant now is what was approved in 2016, and obviously the impact to the neighborhood, the noise, the light clutter.
But I guess I have a basic question, and that is what's going to change in the operation from what happens now that would change the noise level? I mean, can you be very specific about that? What will increase the noise level?
What from where things stand right now, or from the 2016 approval?
Well, folks are currently hearing something, right? And so they are issuing their concerns based off what's currently going on in their lives. And so my question is, if something is going to change, what impact will that have on the noise level? What's going to change physically about the operation then?
Let me jump in real quick. I'll try to make it easier. Since Bruce and Kyle were just brought onto this project and probably don't know the hours of operation and the noise and light mitigation, why don't we ask them to come back in a month to give us an update of how they're going to handle the noise, how they're going to handle the lights. We do have a couple of minutes left. We do have other residents or other people in this meeting. I don't believe we're going to resolve it tonight in one meeting anyway. So you want to have them come back with those answers for us and see what the people that are listening to this meeting have to say about it?
Yeah, if I can please also just add one quick thing before we do that, Mark.
Sure.
Just in terms of some of the items from the special permit application that need to be identified, such as a list of any toxic or hazardous materials. On the site plan, it couldn't tell what the boundary line was on the right-hand side, if you will. Taking a look at the map just straight on, it looks like we get a portion of the map and not the whole area. So I just wanted to make sure that that's completed. And yeah, so that's it. Thanks.
If I may ask a quick question on the aquifer piece.
Go ahead.
Quite honestly, I was surprised why the aquifer special permit was even in there. There's no threshold that's being tripped over everything that was on the site previously. There's no new materials. There's no new anything that's being brought on the site that hasn't been there before. And the only thing that was checked off on the application was a truck terminal, and it's already approved as a truck terminal. So I was quite surprised. I mean, obviously the monitoring wells need to be modified, and the applicant has agreed to that, and they've already worked that out with Littleton Light and Water as to where they're going to be. So I'm really kind of wondering why the aquifer special permit application was even submitted, and respectfully request it be withdrawn, because there was a previous aquifer special permit approved previously for the whole operation, and nothing's changed.
Well, you're actually going to add the spur, and you're going to add the spur right through the aquifer water resource. Maybe you should leave it in there, because I know it was approved, it was never built, and now we're 5 years later. So maybe we just find out. We give you something extra to do, Bruce. Come on.
Okay, but to honest answer, there's no new anything that's hazardous material that's being brought on. It's Portland cement.
I know that, but you didn't build the spur yet. You're going to go right through your detention pond, which is right beside your classes.
We will not go through the detention pond. The spur is entirely on the concrete, on the pavement.
Well, we're going to need to see where it goes, and we can do them all in conjunction. It's not a big deal. Why don't we just keep it nice and simple and catch it all at the same time?
Sounds like
But anyway, we have couple of minutes. Is there any, Maren, does anyone have their hand raised that want to speak to this?
No, there's no one there, Mr. Chair, that raised their hands.
Okay. All right, so why don't we,
I have one quick question.
okay.
The spur will deliver railroad cars full of Portland cement that are then augured up into these silos, and then they're distributed by to other batch plants by truck. Is that how this is going to operate?
Actually, no.
Okay.
That was a concept with the previous arrangement and in 2016. The way that the plant or that the silos were set up, pardon me, there would be that kind of operation. But that is no longer the case. Instead, what happens is that trucks will come in, and the connection to them from this point will serve both to load the silos and for those silos then to load empty trucks. So it's all entirely done without the rail. The rail is for the purposes of the site, for aggregate and other uses that, you know, are not exactly defined at this point, you know.
So it may not be aggregate material in the rail cars, so we're going to need to know what's going in the rail cars. If it's not going to be Portland cement, because you're in an aquifer water resource, and you can't have any kind of chemicals in there less than, I think, 10
25
gallons.
pounds.
Yeah. So we need to kind of know what's going in the railroad cars.
It would be the use of the aggregate, the shipping of equipment, bringing equipment back on from other sites.
That could certainly be conditioned to restrict
Okay.
that according to the needs of the overlay.
Maybe for our next meeting, we can kind of spell the hours of operation out, the lighting, the noise, and what's exactly going on, the situation with the rail cars, since they're not going to be purely for bringing material in or taking material away. Okay, Maren, when can we put them all? When's our next meeting? In January?
January 7. So Mr. Cerullo does have his hand raised. I'll notice
Okay.
that you do have his letter.
Okay, well, why don't we hear from him and then we'll move on from there.
It's actually Mrs. Cerullo, but my question is, and we joined a little bit late, so I may have missed it, but do we know how often the rail car is going to be used, and can that be included in the whatever will be reported at the next meeting, the frequency of the rail cars?
We don't know those details at this time, but if there were restrictions, then we would talk about those. But there's no plan of operation for that at this point.
So you need to find out from your client, are those rail cars going to be for storage of materials brought in and they just sit there? And then when they're empty, new rail cars will come out? Or is this going to be back and forth kind of action with the rail cars? That's kind of, I think that's what Mrs. Cerullo was asking and what we probably need to know.
I think it would be great if the applicant would also be present to be able to facilitate some of these questions.
Okay. Well, yeah, it would be nice if we had somebody from the pre-stress, the aggregate to be there as well. Anyway, anyone else, Maren? Anyone else have their hands up?
No, thank you. So you have scheduled the next planning board meeting on Thursday, January 7. Do you want to, if we start at 6:30, we could do this as early as 6:45. Does that work for you?
Does that work for everybody else?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we continue to entertain a motion to continue this till 6:45 on the 7th of January?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Jeff? Am I losing everybody? Jeff, is that an aye? All right. Delisa?
Aye.
Anna?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
And I'm an aye. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Nice to meet you.
Thank
Good
you.
meeting you.
All right, so we have a 6:35 public hearing, water resource special permit, 6475 Great Road.
So
read that?
while Kirby is letting the folks in, I'll read the hearing notice. Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a consolidated public hearing on Thursday, December 10, 2020 at 6:35 PM to consider the application for a water resource district special permit, Littleton Village Overlay District West, Beaver Brook Area Special Permit pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, and the Code of the Town of Littleton, and the pertinent sections. Property location, 474 Great Road, applicant and owner Charles E. Bell. Applicant is seeking special permit approvals and site plan review to allow continued operation of the retail sales and service locksmith shop in a detached garage building at this location with a residential home also located on the property. Any questions about the public hearing process, please feel to call or email Town Planner Maren Toohill. Applications and plans are posted to the town website. And the hearing notice is signed by Jeff Yates, Planning Board Clerk.
So before we have Mr. Alphen, let me just give you a little bit of brief history since I'm the oldest one on the board. This is kind of a catch-22. When we did the overlay district for the Point/Russell Street, we did the bylaws so that you could have commercial use in that area, and that's how the Point went in. We put a minimum restriction on it of 3 acres, and Mr. Bell already had his existing business there and agreed to donate some of the land to put the traffic light up there. So he's kind of caught in a catch-22 because he doesn't have the 3 acres, even though he was already in there when we did the overlay, and that's become an issue with he was cited by the building department, and we thought that this was probably the best way to resolve this issue, and that's why I believe that's why he's here. So before I go too much further, I'll let Mr. Alphen fill us in on the rest of the details in the site plan.
Thank you, and I'll do this as quickly as possible because it is relatively simple. I represent Charles Bell, who's also with us tonight. As a matter of fact, we applied to the zoning board for a variance from the 3 acre minimum, and included in the package is a copy of the variance, which was granted. No appeal was taken, and it has been recorded. We provided a copy of the recorded decision. The first main paragraph of my cover letter, after reporting that the property is located in the residence zoning district, but also located in the Littleton Village Overlay District West Beaver Brook area at the corner of Russell Street and Great Road, I've included the findings from the zoning board where they say exactly what the chairman just said regarding the history of the property, that our client donated land for purposes of the intersection for the Point. He's sitting across from a significant retail project. He's got a retail locksmith shop. He runs a very well-respected security company off his property. After we went to the zoning board, it was brought to our attention that the special permit and site plan approvals that we were applying for this evening were required. Our client was quite surprised. He believed that what he did back when he gave the zero land damages and the 2011 town meeting was sufficient to allow his property to be used for his business. And but he has agreed to submit the applications because the technicalities require these permits, and we have submitted them. We checked with the building inspector and with the chairman regarding the depth and breadth of the application. We were told that because The property has been there for a long time. It's a historic building, as a matter of fact, and because the business has been there and no changes are being proposed to the site, no changes are being proposed to the impervious material, that we didn't have to go overboard in terms of what we submitted. So we submitted all the necessary applications. We didn't include the planning board site plan checklist because, again, nothing is being done on the property. There's no construction being proposed. It is what it is. It's been there. You can see it, feel it, and it's as simple as that. So rather than boring you with things you already know, I'll ask to see if you have any questions, or perhaps check with my client to see if he has anything to add at this stage of the game. Is Mr. Bell's microphone?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm going to leave it up to Paul, my counsel.
The other thing that was brought to our attention is that maybe it was a typo in the application letter. We said that the Littleton Village Overlay District West Beaverbrook special permit fee was $500. The Aquifer Water Resource Protection District permit was $250, and site plan approval was $1,500. But we submitted $2,500. Where if that was a correct amount, then there's a typo in the letter. To the degree that these are really de minimis applications, it's more of an administrative action. To the degree that the board would waive some of the filing fees, that would be delightful.
Well, let's deal with the issue at hand first, and we'll see if we can get you any money back. I'm going to open up to the board. Does the board have any questions about this? Jerry, do you have anything? Do you remember it?
So I don't get, what are you asking for?
The bylaws, the overlay bylaw says that he needs 3 acres. His piece does not have the 3 acres for him to be able to use the overlay district for the commercial component. So he went to the ZBA, but doesn't want to use the variance he got from them. He wants us to actually grant him relief to a site plan special permit for the use of the overlay district here, even though he doesn't have the 3-acre parcel to use it on.
That's not entirely accurate. We have the variance. We're going to use the variance. We're going to take advantage of that. But the bylaw is not perfectly clear whether we need additional permits. And to be on the safe side, we've applied for the special permit and the site plan approval to make sure that someone down the road doesn't say we needed those things because we're a commercial enterprise. So we're just doing this to be on the safe, conservative side.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I'm kind of with the applicant. I thought we settled this when we put it in the zone.
Well, the issue was that nobody ever caught the fact that the parcels on that side of the road, the other parcels on the other side of the road were plenty big enough, but those 2 parcels, that one and
No,
the other,
I disagree. We knew it was not 3 acres. We had a whole discussion about this, why we should put it in. I mean, we spent like 2 hours talking about this property. We did it on purpose so that he wouldn't be penalized.
but he can't use it because he doesn't have the 3 acres. He needs relief, so he doesn't want to.
I know, but I thought the intent was that his business was his business and we didn't want to impact him. And so that's why we put him in there. He wasn't asking for anything at the time other than to say, this is what I'm doing. Shouldn't I be in the district?
No, he never asked for it. We put it in, if you remember, originally we weren't going to go on that side of the road at all. And then it was changed so that we would go on the other side of Russell Street. So then when we went on the other side of Russell Street, between the selectmen and consultant at the time decided we should include those 2 parcels because they were residential up to the police station, and they felt that they had the potential of being impacted the most by making sure that they could do a commercial component there, and we added those to it. But what we failed to realize is that the 3 acres catches them in a catch-22. We added them to the parcel, but there's not 3 acres there. So that's the issue right now. So we discussed it at great length about putting them in there, and we agreed to put them in there at the 12th hour, and that's what happened. So, and now according to Mr. Alphin, he wants to come in and make sure all his ducks in a row in case somebody in the future, even though it's been 9 years, has an issue with it. He got his variance, wants to make sure his site plan and special permit are all in order. So that's kind of why.
But I guess my point is, I agree that we should allow them waive the fees. I mean, he shouldn't be penalized for this situation, which was really
That's
not of his
fine.
own making. He didn't do it.
Okay, well, that's an entirely different, we can get to that one. I just want to make sure the board has no questions about this particular aspect of it. Anna, do you have anything?
So I guess the only question that I would have is, I know, Mr. Alphen, you addressed the impervious nature of this. And so just to make sure that nothing has changed, that it is in fact within the meeting within the bylaw. So I didn't see any information on that. So that's why I was asking about that.
Mm.
And then given the type of business it is, whether there's any hazardous materials on site, again, just trying to be thorough. As you said, you don't want any questions to ever be asked. And so best to, just address those. So regarding the site, those were my questions. But I did have a different question related to the abutter letter or the resident letter concerning safety, because I didn't know whether or not there had ever been any kind of restrictions on that easement that was granted to the town by Mr. Bell that would create the responsibility for that safety upon Mr. Bell rather than trying to mitigate risk through other manners, if that makes sense.
I read the easement. There's nothing in there about that.
Okay. Right. So then it seems that if there are any sort of traffic concerns, is there anything restrictive about his sign that is, or not restricted? Is there anything about his sign that is restrictive that is within our purview to be able to change? Somebody mentioned trucks protruding onto the roadway. Or what is Mr. Bell doing to help mitigate any sort of safety concerns?
Mr. Elfin, that's a good point. One of the letters we did get was about the issue with trucks parked all over the place. There really is no site plan with parking spots for the trucks, parking spots for the residents who live there, and retail parking spaces. So we've got the next door neighbors complaining about the safety issues of the trucks backing out and them getting around the trucks and things like that. Is there a site plan that shows where all the vehicles can go and that all the vehicles can be parked on that property safely?
We don't have a site plan like that specifically, but maybe Mr. Bell's in a position to be able to talk about whether trucks end up being parked on Russell Street.
There are no trucks parked on Russell Street.
But it's a tight spot. Do you back out onto Russell Street to get out of your facility if there's all your trucks and all your vans out there? One of your neighbors sent us a letter that it's the trucks are an issue with the safety of going up and down Russell Street. That's
Mr. Martinari, we have given up property to accommodate the point that was approved by your board. So inevitably, we have given up land to accommodate the town. We had X amount of vehicles. I since have bought a different property, the post office on Taylor Street. I parked the majority of my vehicles over there.
Mm-hmm.
I have paid out of my pocket for the guys all my employees take their vehicles home. And we now have minimized any traffic problems that have occurred ever, which none really have. And we do not intersect 119 or 495. We have never parked any vehicles out there. I may have a neighbor that complains because somebody can't see around the corner. It's no different than the intersection of 2A and Russell Street. So I beg to differ when there is somebody who's going to say there's a problem.
How many trucks do you park there currently?
4, 5, plus
Okay.
my personal vehicles, which my wife has and I have. And that's only during business hours. Only during business hours. We have so few vehicles that my driveway is a turnaround for people that come off of 495 and go the wrong direction. I have no fewer than 25 to 30 people turn around in my driveway because they get off 495 and go in the wrong direction. Every day.
Okay. All right. I'm just making you aware of the letters that we've gotten from your neighbors about people hitting the rocks and people having trouble getting around you when you're backing onto Russell Street. I just want to make sure that the site is safe as part of what we're doing here. Does the board have any other questions? Are there any, Martin, is there anyone in the audience who wants to raise their hand?
Yes, Mr. Sanders.
George, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
George, are you there?
He's on mute.
Mr. Sanders?
Mute. You hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. George Sanders, 672 Great Road here. I have a concern here about the boulders that's on the right-hand side going down Russell Street. I talked to the building inspector and we looked at the diagram of the property boundaries of the property, and it shows that he measured it out that those boulders are sitting on town property. I have a concern, not with his business. I had no problem with you issuing the permit, waiving the fees, or whatever the case is. I haven't seen a problem with any vehicles being backed out into Russell Street there. I just think that those boulders, if somebody's walking down and there are people turning from the west lane on 119 into Russell Street, they come pretty close. Those lines are pretty close. Even when the town administrator, Mr. Keefe, when they put that sidewalk down there, they shifted the yellow line on that street over to the right if you're going down Russell Street there from 474 property there. And I have a concern that, which I've seen people walk across over the street there, and on that side, they're very close into the roadway. And I think that those boulders shouldn't be on town property. He can move them back onto his property, allow adequate space there for people to walk down that side. I don't have a problem with him not having parking space marked off there with that property there. I very seldom seen any cars in there other than his own cars there. I've been in there a couple of times back quite a few years ago when I was looking for protection for my property. But I just think that those boulders, because I've seen where someone hit, I'll say roughly 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, someone hit it, the one that's next to his driveway entry on Russell Street, and pushed it into his blacktop driveway there for probably at least a couple of feet there. And I don't know if it was Mr. Bell or one of his employees when I came by that was moving it back to wherever it was hit from. So that is my concern with regards to this.
Okay. Mr. Bell, do you have any issue with the boulders that Mr. Sanders is talking about right there in the screen that Jerry's sharing right now with removing them?
No, I'll remove them. Not a big deal. I just need protection there because the town of Littleton proposed to the builder that there would be a guardrail in front of my house. I requested a stone wall. And the stop line for the lights would be on the other side of my driveway. That was the driveway on 119. So I could get out. So the stop line right there is on the other side of my driveway. I can't access that road. I have to access the road on Russell Street.
Mhm.
So I need some protection there. And the proposal was then that the builder at the point would put a guardrail around that. And that never happened. The stop line from the state for 119 never happened. I can't get in and out.
Well, I don't think the rocks have anything to do with you getting in and out.
There should be a guardrail there. That was proposed.
I don't ever remember a guardrail being proposed there. Had nothing to do with that intersection. A light was proposed.
Mr. Martinari, what happened was the builder disputed because I wanted a stone wall there. And they said it was too expensive. And there would be a granite curb that would go all the way around. The granite curb never happened. The stone wall never happened. And there was no guardrail. So I didn't put those rocks there. Those rocks were there, and there was never a problem before the sidewalk was built. And they're not boulders, there's rocks. I will remove them. I have no problem removing them.
Okay. That's all we're asking, so that it's a little safer over there.
But can the town put a guardrail up there for me?
It's state road. We'll have to ask if that was ever part of the.
Russell Street is not a state road.
Right here, 119 is state road.
No, that's not 119. That's Russell Street up to the stop line. When you turn right coming north on Russell Street, that is plowed by the town. And I know that because the plows turn around in my driveway.
We can ask the highway department and the state, because it is, if you're gonna put a guardrail, you might as well go all the way up to your property line up on 119. Doesn't make sense to just put it and stop at the stop line. It would make more sense to go all the way around the traffic light and all the way down the other side. So we'll ask the state if they're interested in it, and we'll find out from the highway department.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But what happens is people drive on the grass. They pull in, they drive all over and it's difficult.
Mark, I don't see any reason why we couldn't ask the town to put a guardrail right here.
That's fine. I just said we would. We'll ask you might as well go from
Not
that.
119, Russell Street.
You need one on 119 as well. If you're just gonna put it right there and stop right there.
It seems like the problem area. There's a curb right here. You can see it. That's the granite curb. It ends right there. And then this is what's left over originally. And he's right. I mean, before they put the sidewalk in, you wouldn't turn that type, but now you do.
Okay, we can ask the town.
I mean, the road's slightly offset from where it was because of the line, the striping.
Sure. Okay. Not a problem. Anyone else? Anyone else on the board? Are there any other people with their hands raised, Maren?
Yes, Govind Mekala. Pardon my pronunciation.
Yes. So I live in 180 Russell Street. I don't know what kind of influence the owner of this business has on the town. I'm pretty sure if I had that business and I was there at that place, I would have been kicked out long back. I don't know what they do and what favor they might have done in the past, but this is a really dangerous place. I don't know why there are so many cars. If the same person would have been living in the neighborhood and I had that business, he would have come to my house and kicked me out. This is such a dangerous place. Every time I turn, I think that this is my last day of my life. Every time I go out of this street, I think this is the last day of my life. No matter what you put guardrail or anything, there's so many cars coming in and going out. My kids could die anytime there. And not only that, the board which they have put, it completely obstructs the view. And this kind of business, after coming the point coming into picture, it became too much traffic. You know that this Russell Street has become so much traffic because of ways sending all the people from Russell Street. And anybody living in Russell Street, this is very dangerous. And before somebody dies, we should take care of it. And at least they should be careful about it.
Okay, thank you. The board have any other questions or concerns? Or we're running a little late. Any other concerns or issues with this?
No.
Jerry, you're okay with this?
Yeah.
Anna, where are you?
Nope, none other than those what I mentioned.
Okay. Jeff?
Board of Appeals when they
Are you-
came before. Am I muted? No. I was on the Board of Appeals when Mr. Bell and his representatives came before us. And one of the big discussions was the taking of land or his donation of land that actually was crucial to the redo of that intersection. And he rightly, and then things just weren't followed through. So his property fell between the cracks and he wanted relief. And he's gotten a variance and now he's going for a special permit review, which I support.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other concern to this? So do we want to take a vote on whether to allow, give him this, the site plan and special permit that he's asking for? And we can deal with the fees if you want to waive the fees for this.
Mr. Montanari, Mr. Sanders has raised his hand again.
Okay. Very quickly, Mr. Sanders, we're running out of time.
Mr. Montanari, I think that in this permit, I believe what Mr. Bell is saying here, because this project for the point would probably never have the light there if he hadn't gave up property to give to the state to do that. I think in this condition of this permit, you ought to require that a guardrail be put in there as he asked to offer a little bit of protection, because he gave a great sacrifice to the town here in order to get this traffic light put up there. And I know it was close because when they put the sidewalk, things shifted more towards his side. But I think that there should be no harm in the town going that extent and doing that. I have no problem with the business there, none whatsoever.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. We will ask the highway department and the state for that matter too, because it's going to have to go up to where they are if they're interested in working on putting guide rails up there. We'll take care of that after we're done with this. Anyone else want to be heard? Do we have other issues? What do you want to do about the fees? Do you want to waive the fees?
Yeah, I think we
Yes,
should.
Lisa says yes. Jeff, how about you?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yep.
Anna?
Yes, the $2,500.
Okay, and I have no problem with that. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the site plan and special permit as presented and amended. If anyone wants to make that motion.
I so move.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Anna,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Delisa,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, so this should hopefully close this loop for Mr. Bell, and we thank him for his donation, and hope this is the last that we hear of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Right.
All right,
Thank
so-
you.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. So we have 7:30. We're running a couple minutes late, not too bad, but all things considered. Mara, do you want to read the public hearing, continued public hearing, or?
As a continued public hearing, we read the notice at the initial hearing, so you don't
All
need
right,
to
so
do
we're
that again.
just back in there. Who do we have? We have Christine.
Mark, excuse
Yeah,
me.
you have to recluse yourself.
Yes, I'm going to recuse myself. Lauren, would you do me a favor and, because I'm at work, text me and let me know when I should come back on?
Okay, thank you.
Why
Okay.
don't you plan on somewhere around 8, but we'll get you.
Yeah, just text me. All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Great. So, when last we spoke, Christine, we had opened the hearing. We discussed briefly the parking situation out there. We talked about the waiver. Hopefully, your council and town council has put the waiver together for two properties. With
Actually, we reached out to town council several times with no response. So
well, you have to write the waiver and send it to them and have them read it. You know?
Let's, if I may, Mr. Chair, they did provide the request for the waiver. Town council did reply. I have shared that with the applicants, and town council said that the waiver was properly written and it's proper for the board to consider it. And he has no concerns with the board granting the distance waiver, but it's your
Okay.
decision to make. So we have closed the loop on the paperwork end of it. It's ready for your discussion.
Okay, thank you. So Christine, I think the way I'd like to start it is, could you walk us through how if I wanted to use your establishment and buy your product there, how I would go about doing it, how long it would take, and the procedure that I would have to go through? Could you give us a brief overview of how that would work?
sure. So do you drive to my shop in your car? Is this where we're starting? Yeah, you would be greeted outside by a security guard who would scan your government issue photo ID with an IntelliCheck scanner, which it's a very good way to check for valid ID. If your ID is properly vetted, you would be led into our secure vestibule. The term in the security world is man trap. So you would be led in there. There would be someone at a desk to greet you. They might ask you for they would check your ID again, and then they might ask you some other questions about, like, do you want to be on our mailing list, kind of thing. And then you would be led into the shop. No cannabis products are visible by outside the shop at all. That's against the law. So there's not like there are going to be shelves full of cannabis. You would come in, people would be behind the counter to talk to you. There would be some educational materials throughout the shop. And I have a plan for these little educational kiosks with iPads that people can use when people aren't all infected with COVID like they are now. And then they would come to someone at the counter. Their ID would be checked again. They would pay, they would get their purchase and pay with cash or debit card. And then they would be let back through the vestibule by a human who would open the door. That's all access controlled. And then be on their way. So all of the doors in and out around throughout the shop are all key card, access controlled doors. And I can control those with my phone. I can kick anyone out, trap anyone out that I wanted to. There are panic buttons.
So it's a secured way in and out. You have to be let in and then you have to be let out. How many people in your store at any one time?
Well, that's a great question because of COVID, and because I think the maximum number of parking spots that I could ever have would be 64. I think the load, the occupancy load is something for my shop is like 7 square feet per person. So the front of the shop is 1,000 square feet.
Well, you've obviously done a business plan and an estimate of what you anticipate for people coming in and how long it's going to be.
Yeah, 7 to 10 minutes per 7 minutes per transaction, but I'm giving them 10.
Okay, so 10 minutes of transaction, approximately, roughly how much you think each transaction would probably work out to financially?
So the average transaction in the cannabis industry right now is they're 3.5 units per sale, and the average unit price is around $45.
So about $120 every time someone comes in there. I'm trying to back into a number of how many trips, generations do you think you're going to have on a daily basis in an 8-hour day?
So it would be more than 8 hours. But the average cannabis shops in Massachusetts are doing 200 to 300 sales, like individual transactions per day, not units, but transactions. And where I'm going to have cannabis shops 2 miles away in both directions, I like to think that people would still want to come to me and I would do that average, but I think that at this point I may not be quite up to that state average because there aren't a lot of there's going to be quite the concentration here.
Okay, so we could roughly say maybe somewhere under 200 units.
For the purposes of sort of calculating traffic and things like that, I chose 250 because the average shops are 200 to 300.
Okay, so how many parking spaces do you have in the front of the building?
I have a little. Can I show you my presentation about the parking?
Okay, sure.
I don't know, let's see, it's 65, 66, and there are 15 out back, so there are 41 in front.
Okay, so let's just use the number 41. I drove through the facility today, and the people that are in there now, there's about 10 cars in there now. So if you take those 10 cars and take them out of your 41, you have roughly 31 spaces, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I have is 31 spaces during an 8-hour day enough to support 250 trips?
Well, so I would be open 12 to 13 hours a day. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, that probably does work. All right. We have Chief Plnbrd here, and he has taken a look at your traffic flow and your way in and out, that your entrance is a skew of being a perfect 45-degree angle to get in there. And I believe he's made a recommendation that it would make one way in and one way out. And if I can get him to speak about that quickly, then I'm going to open it up to questions from the board. Chief Plnbrd, are you still there?
Of course I am, Mr. Chair. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time for this. You talked about maybe making it a one-way in around the building and a one-way out to the back, just for safety reasons.
Of course. So if you hit the nail on the head earlier, Mark, when you said that entranceway is not perfect to go in there. So my thought and my thinking on this is to make one way in, one way out, so that it will not clog up on the entranceway, and then it'll leave open. So if people are coming off of two-way, we'll be able to take an immediate left into the parking lot. Where that arrow is right there, you'll see that it's kind of congested right there. So my thought was to come into that first entranceway, the front, park in the front of the building, go in, do your business, buy your 24 units or 300 units or whatever you gotta do, and then get back in your car, and then exit through the east side, come back out around the back, and then they're out to two-way. I think this will be the easiest way. If we set it up from the beginning like this and keep this flowing, I think that'll be the easiest way. I did talk to the owner of the furniture store next door, and he had no issue with that plan that I had talked to him about. The loading docks in the rear are set up for people to go around towards the east to the west right there and back into their loading dock. So that would not be an issue. It would take less than a few signs on the side of the east side of the building to keep people from coming through there and into the front of the building from the back. And it would also keep the flow of traffic much easier.
Maybe even do not enter on the pavement down there at the corner,
In the front there, yes.
and the other back corner.
Well,
Back
but the other businesses use, the other businesses have loading docks. So, you know, we don't want to confuse the big truck drivers. The way that they come in is that they pull in, they back in from the shared driveway into that.
Where the cursor is right now, that back corner right there, do not enter, so they can't go back up to the parking lot. Or the other end.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, great. It's either that or reconfigure the front entrance, because it is obviously too tight for the amount of traffic that we're talking about to come in and out of that front entrance safely.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Do we have any other concerns, Chief, while I have you on here?
No, I think that's actually the best plan in place. And I think that's all.
And outside, we're not really concerned too much about the security outside, but I mean inside, but security outside, locked in and out. Somebody out there to make sure nobody's using the parking lot as a trial and error part of the thing.
Yeah, no, the security plan that Ms. Nordhaus has put forward is actually exquisite. The strong box security that she's using for the interior is actually really well. They did a good job. It is covered as far as security wise. They've gone above and beyond, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, so Christine, I'll let the board see if they have any questions for you. I just wanted to get a rough idea of what your traffic flow and if the actual 30 spaces out there would be adequate. So
40.
I'll open it up and see if anybody on the board has any questions for you first, and then maybe if you want to finish up or have boost stock, we can do that. But Jeff, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, I don't. And basically, you know, I've observed Gage up the street, and there's never there. I mean, maybe once in a while, I go there by lunchtime or whatever, and it just doesn't seem congested at all. And I don't know how big their parking lot is, but it doesn't look bigger than what Christine's is.
Okay. Anna, do you have any questions or concerns?
So I had an opportunity to visit the site a couple of days ago, and based off what the plan is for the parking, my comment would be that on, I think it's the east side, as you guys said, on the cherry stone side of the building, I would recommend that we have signs over there be placed that says no parking, because in the event that there is an overflow, there aren't parking spaces, people might say, oh, this looks like it'll be okay. And if that's something that isn't permissible, then we should probably have some no parking signs there.
You mean in the cherry stone spots or against the woods side of that driveway?
Against the
driveway.
wood sides, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I think, yeah, sure. I've been actually working with the neighbors on some of that just in the whole industrial complex. It's very, very easy. I'm going to be using Chris Stoddard's sign company. So I'll have like the nice highway quality signs for no parking either side, here or there. It'd be very simple to put no parking and exit, with an arrow. And there'll also be staff, security personnel on hand to help keep everyone moving.
Yeah. Yeah. So both for keeping people not parked there and just additional for your safety. Then the other question that we had discussed was in terms of the signage for your building and whether or not people would be able to know that that's where they're turning. We had the misfortune of standing out front when a very, very large truck went screaming down to westbound, and all of a sudden stopped and then backed up onto A so that they could make the left-hand turn into the
Industrial complex.
commercial area. And so if you've got somebody who's looking to find Littleton Apothecary and they happen to swing by it, are they going to be doing something similarly? So the question was, what can be done with signage or with other types of guidance on the website to be able to get people to where they want to be the first time?
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll have a sign on that. I can show you pictures because I did a little Photoshop mock-up if you want to see it. But, just the logo will be on the communal sign there. I'll talk to Jack about his nice wooden sign that's like closer down the road and see if he'll give me some space on that. But, we are going to have police details there for the time being. And, my understanding is that we shouldn't have, the zoning doesn't really allow for big lit signs. I mean, the building itself is very well lit at night. So I mean, I guess any ideas you have, I would be totally open to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as we discussed, probably making sure that all your information has plenty of directions for people to.
Oh, it will. I want them to find us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last question I had was related to your hours. I know that I believe Board of Selectmen approved in the HCA for 11 o'clock on Friday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Gage closes at 9 currently, and then just one of the liquor stores closes at 10. So I'm just wondering why the reason to make it 11.
Well, there's a lot of disadvantage during the select board discussions, there's a lot of disadvantage to my location in terms of, just retail traffic. The one that's going in behind CVS is right off of 495. The Air Rotary, Gage is right off of the Air Rotary, and I'm stuck in between them. It's a non-residential area. It's an industrial area. So they allowed me to have the maximum number of hours. And it's also, like you brought up before, it's really great to spread that out. We're going to start it, spread out when people are coming to the shop so that it's not all, right around rush hour. People know that they can go home and have dinner and come back later in the evening. It'll be great. I hope that I don't have to be open all those hours, but for now, I think I want to plan at the start to do that for sure.
Okay, thank you. Anna, anything else? Are you good, Anna, for now?
Good.
All right. Who'd I miss? Jerry, do you have any questions?
No.
You good? You don't have a problem with traffic? You don't have a problem with getting in and out safety-wise? You're good with everything? No, I'm just asking. You can say yes.
I'm good.
Okay.
No, I mean, I did the walk. I made my recommendations. I sent my report. I'm good.
Okay. Bruce, do you have anything to add before I open it up to the public? Smart man. Mr. Valeriani, do you have anything to add? Or are you good?
No, thank you, Mark.
Good. Okay. Martin, does anyone have their hand raised?
Yes, Brian Tarbox first.
Okay. Brian,
Hi, Brian Tarbox, 16 Fletcher Lane. I'm a big fan of this business. I'll say that the check-in procedures that Ms. Nordhaus described are exactly what Gage uses. And so I think that's completely in line. And the one thing I'll mention is that most people who use these shops, and I do use Gage, most people will check everything out online first. And so I think I'm sure her website will have great directions and maps on how to get in there. And having just gone into Gage the other day and paid the tax that's going to air, I would much rather be paying that into Littleton. So I'm a big fan. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. Maren, anyone else have their hand up?
Mr. Sanders?
Mr. Sanders? Are you there?
Yeah.
George?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we can now.
Hi, George.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to comment, Ms. Norhouse, with regards to this been a long haul for her and the effort that she has put into this business there. I think she was definitely going to be a good representative business here in the town of Littleton, and I want to commend her for the extra effort that she put into the handicap parking for the business there. She actually put in one handicap for her employee. She anticipated on hiring a handicapped person to work there. So I thought that was just fantastic. And I just want to commend her for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for making us aware of that, Mr. Sanders. Maren, anyone else have anything to say?
No, nobody else with their hand raised.
No one. Wow. This is how faster. I have to stretch this along, I guess. I don't know. No, I'm only kidding. You've done a great job of getting us the information that we asked for. The board have anything else they want to discuss about this? Are we ready to close the hearing and vote conditions, or do you want to keep it open and do conditions for next time we're together? You want to vote now? I
had a quick question.
Okay.
And that is, Christine, you said you had a presentation. Is there anything from that presentation that you'd wish for us to see?
No, it was just all about the parking and zoning but if you're, I don't want to take up. I've only been practicing this presentation for the last 17 days, every single day, but it's boring now.
Well, which is why I asked, because if there was anything you wanted
actually, Anna, when you came for your site visit the other day, you brought up a really great thing about maybe different locations around in my neighborhood about where concerns that cars, people might go and get high there. I wanted to let you know, the way that the community impact fee works is that the town would do anything that they wanted in terms of signs or any mitigations like that. And then they would take that from the community impact fee, which is 3% of my gross revenues. So all they would have to do is, the town could do anything like that they saw fit. And I just wanted to follow up with you on that.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Anyway, okay, so how does the board want to handle this? Do we want to close and vote? Do we want to do conditions, or do we want to at least close and vote and work on have Maren, town council, and Christine's lawyers work on conditions of approval? Do we want to do it that way?
Yes.
Yes. Jerry, do you want to do it that way too?
Yeah.
Anna?
Sure.
Yeah, me too. I'd rather do it that way. We'll let you guys hammer out the final details of it, hours and everything else. And unless anyone has anything else they want to add, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I so move.
Oops. Bruce, Jeff has seconded. Anyone want to? All those in favor signify by saying aye to close the hearing right now.
Aye.
All right. Anna, are you an aye?
Yes.
Jeff, you're an aye?
Aye. Yes.
I'm an aye. Okay, now having closed the hearing, I will entertain a motion to approve the license for the retail marijuana establishment at 160 Air Road, Littleton Apothecary, subject to the conditions of approval that will be coming shortly. And I think that's basically it. Does anyone want to second that?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor of allowing getting a retail marijuana license special permit for 168 Road, signify by saying aye. Jerry?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, so we'll have the legal beagle start working on the conditions of approval, and we'll hopefully on our meeting in January be able to look at the conditions of approval and vote on them and move this along.
Thank you. A really quick question about the Aquifer special permit. Do I need that?
Did she have an Aquifer special permit with this?
I'm in the
along with
district.
mine?
I don't meet the thresholds.
I don't think we did anything to the site.
No.
If we have to approve it out, well, why don't we catch that right now while we're in the middle of doing it? Was there an Aquifer resource special permit for this as well, Mara?
Right, there was an application. When asked, I always recommend that properties apply for that particular special permit, just because I've seen cases where people have not, and they had to come back later.
Okay, so, yeah, so if there's an Aquifer, so then we'll close the hearing on that one as well. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing on the special permit Aquifer Resource District special permit. Anyone want to second that one?
Second.
So Jerry, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Jerry?
Yes.
Anna? Yep. Jeff?
I guess it's not listed here, but okay.
Well, we didn't do anything to it. They haven't changed the special permit. They haven't done anything with the percent impervious. It's just because they're in the district that we had to probably have it along with part of the, we didn't do anything with it. We opened and continued it. They're not changing one brick there.
Right, it is listed in the public hearing notice and in the
It is? Okay.
agenda. Yeah.
And it's in my application, just in case.
Was that a yes, Anna?
That is a yes.
All right. Jeff?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm a yes. Since actually nothing was going on with no added impervious or anything else like that, so I think we're good. Okay, so I think we've done our homework on this one. Anyone else? Anything else? Did I miss anything, Mara?
Unless you want to also vote the site plan separately.
Well, actually, I'd like to vote the site plan when we see the signage and everything else for the one way in, one way out. Can we hold that off till the 10th?
It's
on the plan.
It's in there. It's on the plan already.
Can we see the plan? Can somebody put it up?
Yeah,
Screen
let me,
for
if
us?
I can share my screen, I'll share it with you right now.
Okay, perfect. We can take care of that as well.
Hang on, I'll get to it. Here's the site plan. And I can scroll, obviously, zoom in. So, do you want me to go through this? It's, an existing.
So I see the entrance, do not enter sign, post sign over at the corner.
Exit sign, and then, yeah, I didn't propose anything for the back because you just brought that up.
Maybe put something in that far corner over there that says do not enter so that it's one way going down the side of the building.
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah.
Okay.
And you want that shown on the plan?
Why don't we make it as condition of the approval that you do not enter, do not enter signs as needed on the pavement.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we'll do it that way. All right, so then I'll entertain a motion to approve the site plan as amended. Does anyone want to second that? Might as well get it all. Jerry, you want to second that one?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, seconded. All those in favor? Anna?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So we got site plan, special permit, aquifer resource. Good, we got them all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Hey, John.
Good night.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a little bit of time. We have 20 minutes before our 8 o'clock continued public hearing with the Amazon people. Do we have some board business stuff we want to take care of while we're in the middle of this? Maren?
You did good job of taking care of most of it before.
No, I think we're good. Do you want to take a brief recess and reconvene in 15 minutes? Or do you want to? I can't fill for 15 minutes. How about if we do that? We'll take a brief recess and we'll come back at 5 minutes to 8.
Yeah.
Want to do that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Why don't we do that? So we all have to get off. We just walk away, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
No.
We have 19 people.
No, we have 28.
Oh, counting us, yeah.
20 now.
Wow, 20. Okay.
Maren, would you like me to bring the panelists in?
Sure.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
It's nice to see Anthony on the call.
Anthony's on the call, took a call?
He's on, yes.
Yes.
Oh, no, he was on earlier. He was here. He's just checking up on us.
The only person I do not see, Maren, is Jessica.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. Probably Todd.
Did somebody tell
Oh, I see Mr. Beals here too.
Yeah, Delisa's on her way. So perhaps, Larry, you can let me know if there's anybody else we expect to have present.
Maren, the people we're expecting is Todd Morey. I think you may have mentioned him.
He's here.
Brian Orr from Northbridge and Greg Losey. Brian is on I see him on the screen. And then from Amazon, we're expecting Jessica Schumer and Brad Griggs.
Just bringing in Brad Griggs at the moment, sir.
Thank you. Maren, I would like to be the one to be able to share my screen when the time is appropriate.
Yep, you should be able to.
Well, look at that. I can.
Larry, would it be okay if I started out with the letter of understanding that you sent to us and we went through the line items as we went through the meeting, or do you have a presentation you want to do first?
It's your call. compiled a list of mitigation, and I thought for everybody that was involved, it might make sense to use it to illustrate.
Okay, so how about if I'm not calling it that, I'm calling it a letter of understanding, just for my reference. So I don't have a problem with going through it, and then if you want to, if we go through, the first couple of ones are going to be pretty straightforward, and then just maybe we expand upon a couple of them a little bit. There's a lot of people on, and I'm assuming a lot of them are going to be from Foxborough. If we talk about the left turn and things like that as we go down the list, I think it would probably be easier that way.
Mark, I'll follow your lead. If you want to go ahead and work your way through it, and if somebody has a question or I need to illustrate something, I can do that.
Okay.
I've got all the graphics set up on my computer, and I will provide whatever support you need.
Well, if you have a presentation and it goes line by line for this, then why don't we just do it that way then? If you have,
okay.
Just, some of them are pretty, we've already kind of rehashed the de-icing. Just quickly go through them. And then we can ask you questions on each point as we come to it, if the board has any issues.
Okay. The way I've looked at it, Mark, is there are things that we've already agreed to. And,
correct.
And I'll just highlight that.
Okay.
As you suggest, the de-icing, et cetera. And then there are new things. So I was just going to be very brief on what we've already discussed and then expand a little bit on the new things because.
All right. So then why don't you do it? I will just, I'll let you, since you have a presentation for most of the new stuff, we'll just leave it at that then.
Be a lot easier.
Pay more than I do anyway. Okay. It looks like it's the witching hour now anyway. It's Maren, is everybody here from our side?
Yes, all the board members are present. And we have Tom Bigelow and Corinne Tobias from Green International Affiliates, and Larry Beals and his team are present. Let's see, Matt Plnbrd, Town Administrator Anthony Ansaldi. Looks like we're all here.
The only person you're missing, Maren, would be Jessica Schummer.
Okay.
I don't know how that impacts Mr. Beal's presentation.
And we have Greg Losey on as well. That's waiting to be admitted.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So are we live again? Or are we still waiting?
Yes, we are. You're alive, sir. You have been alive all along.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So we have a continued public hearing at 8 o'clock. Major commercial industrial use special permit, water resource district special permit for 151/153 Taylor Street site plan review, Amazon last mile warehouse operation. I guess I'm going to turn it over to Larry. Larry has sent the planning board I call it a letter of understanding. Have Larry go through it. We'll ask, there's some new points on it that we haven't already discussed. We have some traffic stuff. We have our traffic consultants with us as well. So why don't we start working our way through it, and then at the end of it, we'll open it up for public input and for the board to discuss if there's something we want to discuss. So Larry, why don't you start off with your presentation? Larry?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm trying. I wanted to share my screen. Are you able to see it?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about the pause. I have a hard time doing three things at once. But just by way of introduction, I feel like I've made it already, but just so everyone is aware, the owner of this project is Northbridge Partners LLC. Greg Losey and Brian Orr are on this call with us. From Amazon, we're expecting Jessica Schumer, and Brad Griggs is also on the call as well. And then from Beals Associates, I am on this call, obviously, and Todd Morey. So what we wanted to do is refresh your memory. This building is the building that's under construction. It's 151 Main. We submitted this site plan for the board to review. I don't want you to focus on it too much because we've made some pretty dramatic changes to it, primarily the parking. This building stays essentially the same in the site plan. This is where we made most of the changes recently. And I prepared for the planning board what I viewed as a very comprehensive list of everything that we've agreed to, because I wanted to have it all in writing at one spot. And I also wanted the board to have the opportunity to review it and let me know if we missed anything. So as far as I'm concerned, the list is complete, but you can tell me otherwise. So what we've already agreed to is that there will be a de-icing compound monitoring program. And we think that's important because we'll be able to correlate the amount of de-icing compounds used versus the water quality. So we'll collaborate with the Conservation Commission and with the Water Department on that program. And to accomplish that, we've agreed to install a monitoring well. Let me get my laser pointer. We're going to install a monitoring well at this location. That'll capture the runoff, the groundwater coming onto the site. Presumably it's fairly clean. And then we've proposed a well down here in the vicinity of the detention basin to monitor the groundwater quality at that location. Likewise, on 153, we have a monitoring well here and a monitoring well located right here in that green island area. One thing that was very important, fairly expensive, but we agreed to it, is to heat the pavement in this section. So we've designed in the plans a heated pavement section that begins about here and extends to the new parking lot. The reason that's important is this is a wetland resource in this location. This is a wetland resource here. And because of the close proximity of this existing roadway through the wetland area, we thought it would be wise to minimize the amount of de-icing compound placed there. Also, we've modified this parking lot, but one thing we've retained is a perimeter fence all the way around. There's a guide rail all the way around the parking lot. It has a backing on it of chain link screen to prevent any windblown trash from the parking lot from going into the wetlands. The better plan is never to have the trash in the parking lot. So Northbridge has agreed to a weekly program whereby they'll monitor the parking lots, pick up the trash, and sweep it weekly as well. There was a lot of discussion about the issue of having a lot of parking over here and bathrooms over in this building. So we have modified the plan so that located right in this area is a remote bathroom. It's actually a bathroom intended to serve the drivers that may or may not be in this parking lot. We maintained the 30 commuter rail spots at this location. And if I could blow up the drawing a little bit more, you'd see that there's a shelter right there for people to get out of the weather when necessary. One of the things that we've included on the plan is a widening of this driveway, this curve. If you're out there, you'll notice that tractor trailers trying to come into the site have damaged this area. The real concern is a tractor trailer coming off this roadway and then seeing that turn that looks a little too tight, swinging out wide into the other lane to get in there. And this is designed so that a tractor trailer can come head south on Taylor Street and make that turn without crossing the yellow line, which is the way it should be. We're contributing $40,000 to the town's conservation land fund, as we agreed to with the Conservation Commission. And I think one of the really big improvements on the site is we've tremendously improved the stormwater management system. When this was originally developed, there were different standards, different understandings, and it was designed basically with catch basin grates into leaching catch basins. So there's virtually no pre-treatment of the runoff. And we've designed a system that has deep sump catch basins with hoods to trap the sediment and the oil. They then flow into hydrodynamic separators, which remove total suspended solids. And then the cleaner stormwater runoff flows into these large leaching areas. We thought it was appropriate to have extra protection in this area. It's a groundwater resource area. It's an aquifer that serves the town's wells. So not only do we clean up the runoff, but we also infiltrate 100% of the runoff up to the 100-year storm event. So that's done to recharge the groundwater table. This is a big change. From the last meeting to now, we had a meeting with the town. Mark was there. Some of the planning board members were there. A member of the Board of Selectmen was there, police, fire. And we had a pretty robust discussion about what the town's concerns were. And that list enabled us to make some modifications. So I'll try to explain this drawing, but basically the intent of this drawing is to reduce the parking. And so what's shown in blue here is the original design, the design that was first submitted with this application. And working with Amazon, and they can discuss these numbers with you later, but what was proposed under our original design was 691 parking spaces, including 600 spaces for delivery vans. This has been reduced. This parking lot now shows 450 spaces. So that's a 25% reduction. And it breaks down to 350 vans, 60 flex van drivers, 60 flex driver vans, and 40 buffer vans. The buffer vans do not leave the parking lot unless they need to. So if a van won't start, the buffer van replaces it. So assuming we can work our way through this process and we can get to a decision, what we'd like to suggest to the planning board is that it consider a condition that allows the construction of the parking lot as shown in this configuration, with a provision that says if in the future Amazon feels as though it needs this additional parking, we would be obliged to come back to the board, present the plan, and seek the board's approval. And we think that motivates certainly the owner and Amazon to be on its best behavior. There was a concern expressed that there might potentially be problems. Bottom line is, we view that if there are problems on this site, you probably would not allow us to expand the parking lot. Whereas if Amazon and Northbridge are the model citizens that they say they are, then there'll be no problem. But we at least want you to consider that as an option. Regarding traffic, there were letters from residents in Boxborough. There were letters from the residents in Littleton, but mostly people seem to be concerned about traffic headed south on Taylor Street. And if you look at this diagram, 80% of our traffic it heads out to Route 2. So coming out of this driveway onto Taylor Street, 80% of the traffic is going to come up and get onto Route 2 either at this location or at this location. Once it's on Route 2, 20% goes west, 60% goes east. That's a little misleading because a portion of that then enters the 495 Cloverleaf system going either north or south. We don't have the numbers, but once the traffic is on the highway, it's headed in those directions. The traffic that's projected for Foster Street and Taylor Street really is for local deliveries. If somebody lives over here and they order something from Amazon, the van needs to go like this to make that delivery, or any place along Foster Street. So what we thought might make sense is to have a condition that says at this entrance drive or exit drive, it has to be posted with a highly visible sign saying left turn only except for local deliveries. In thinking this through, our thinking is we probably want to have a sign halfway up informing drivers that when you get to that intersection, you're going to have to go left unless you have a local delivery, and then a reminder sign here. The intent of that is to get traffic to go, to ensure that traffic goes to the left and not to the right unless it's for local deliveries. One other thing we'd like to offer to the town, this is the existing building that's out there. I've been told, and Northbridge is aware of the fact that there's a lot of material in there. There's a lot of supplies, there's a lot of equipment, and the building will be demolished. And our thinking is it would be a shame to remove everything from it that might be usable by the town of Littleton. So we're offering, and we're hoping that you will consider that you'll at least walk through the building, and anything in there that might be useful to the schools or VOTEC programs or office supplies or town hall or police or fire, you'll mark and take from the building. So that's, you don't have to do it, but we'd like to put everything in that building to good use. There was a lot of discussion about traffic contingency plans. And so I remind you that the major problem, as I've been told, is that if there's an accident on Route 2, and I understand they occur with some frequency, and if this ramp gets closed, the fear is all the traffic would then go through the residential neighborhoods. We think we have a better plan, and Amazon is willing to support this in their operations, so that if there is a problem at this interchange and you can't get onto the highway, the contingency plan would be to come out of the driveway, left turn only, and then cross over Route 2, head north on Taylor Street up to King Street. That then puts you onto Route 2A. It gets you onto 495. And then the traffic can either go north on 495 south, or it can at least get back to this cloverleaf and head inbound or outbound on Route 2. It's fairly simple, therefore it should work fairly well. And we're willing to accept that as a condition as well. We looked at the impact of this contingency plan, and this is a copy of your zoning map. Our site is located right here. This is the Route 2 interchange 495. So the vehicle coming out here, turning left, would cross over Route 2. It would drive through Industrial A zoning districts, and then it drives alongside Industrial B zoning, and then it enters a business district, then it gets onto a state numbered highway to the Cloverleaf. So there is residential zoning in here. There are some residential dwellings in this area. But overall, I think it would be minimal impact on the residences of the town of Littleton. We also looked at the weekday traffic volumes on Taylor Street north of Route 2, north of the Route 2 ramps, and this is specific to the contingency plan. So the green color is Taylor Street north of Route 2 ramps as it exists today, and then we overlay the blue, which is the proposed Amazon trips. And as we've said, some trucks come in at night, they load up, and then they begin to load the vans, and the bulk of the traffic is non-peak, a little bit here at the PM peak, and then after peak. Brad can answer any questions anybody has on that, but this does indicate to us that the Taylor Street does have the capacity, when the vans are driving on it, during a contingent situation where there's a problem on Route 2, it appears that the roadway has the capacity to handle that. Worth mentioning, and we'd encourage the board to include this in a condition, is that excise taxes will be paid on the vans that are parked overnight in these parking lots. They'll be registered in the town of Littleton, and therefore the excise taxes would be due to the town of Littleton. The good news is I'm getting towards the end. I've tried to go through it quickly, and we're prepared to talk about all this stuff all night if we have to. But it occurred to us that if you're inclined to approve this project, the only land that we're really interested in is this area and this area. And what we're proposing, if the town and the water department are willing, would be to subdivide off the balance of the land and convey that to the water department. We like that idea. We firmly believe the best way to protect land is to own it. The water department are the stewards that could manage that area. This is the big Beaver Brook Valley Aquifer, and this would be a big chunk of land that would then be owned by the water department to protect its water resources. One caveat on that is we want to work with the board to make sure that we don't make any of these lots or buildings non-conforming. We want to make sure we have enough FAR but I'm sure we can work out the details on that. But at least that's one final offer that we'd like to make. So Mark, I'll turn it back to you. That's the presentation. If I went over anything too quickly, let me know and I'll give a little bit more detail. And I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry. I'm going to open up to the board if they have any questions. I do have one question. It was brought up early on about electric vehicles for the town for this Amazon site. And we talked about it briefly. And if you watch the Amazon commercials, they're going all electric and everything else. We'd like to know hopefully from Amazon, how soon electric vehicles would show up at the site and what they think their percentage would be electric within the next couple of years. So I don't know if they can speak to that now, if we could get that before we close the hearing.
Sure. So this is Brad Griggs from Amazon. Pleasure to speak to you and the board again here this evening. The commercials show our pilot program that's in San Diego. It's about a dozen vans that they're testing out at present. What we've realized in our goal to try and meet our climate pledge and meet our sustainability goals is that the commercial electric vehicle market in the United States was basically non-existent. So we're having to work with a variety of manufacturers to create it from scratch. So our goal is to have 100,000 electric vehicles by 2030. The first of which will be deployed, which is 10,000 in early 2022. So we will look to deploy 10,000 electric vehicles throughout North America in 2022 with the hope of getting to 100,000 by 2030. Sites that are in our portfolio will be evaluated by our teams. And so at this point, we're still working through exactly which locations will receive electric vehicles. The hope will be that in that initial order of 10,000, every location that's in the portfolio will get some level of electric vehicles at their location. We're designing these sites to allow for the electric vehicle charging stations to be installed at the locations at such time and with the technology advancements that would be in place by 2022 to allow that to happen. So at this point, it is still to be determined, but that is sort of the time frame. So by the time this site would be operational, we would have a much better sense of when the electric vehicles would be coming to the site. But right now, we're still very much in just the evaluation process of where those vehicles will be going to.
So as a condition of approval, and I'm not going to ask for it now, but could you give us an idea of maybe, by 2022, you could be working on a percentage, maybe 5%. I can't put a number there, but that before we close it, you could give us a percentage of what you would think Amazon could commit to it. I know you can't give us a number now.
Yeah. I think it's something that we can, if possible, we could have it as a discussion point at the time that we get to a TCO or a CO, that we have a discussion to as far as what our plan will be for electric vehicles, that when this gets to a TCO or CO and we're starting operations, that we will re-engage with the board around our timing on electric vehicle
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. That was my one quick question. I'm going to open up to the board. I see you have questions. I'll start with Anna. Do you have any questions or concerns? You have to unmute.
Yes,
There you
thanks,
go.
Mark. So welcome again, folks. Thank you very much for the detail in the letter, Larry. Really appreciate all that. I think to begin from what Mark was just talking about, the electric vehicles are pretty important. I think I mentioned at a previous meeting that the environmental component, especially to a town like Littleton, which is very green in terms of its land use, it's pretty important. So I would consider that to be a very big priority. So thank you. Just a couple of points from the letter. One of them being the sweeping and the trash pickup. I know it's currently scheduled for weekly. I think that if we can get that, a couple times a week, that would be better than weekly, because a lot of trash can accumulate and then it's just going to be blowing around even more. In terms of restrooms, if you're talking about
Anna, could I
yes,
just clarify one thing?
certainly.
I think the point on the trash is a good one. I want to make sure that you're not expecting the parking lot to be swept more than weekly, which frankly, weekly is quite a bit, particularly in a season when you're not salting or sanding. So I think the request on picking up trash more frequently is very reasonable. Parking lot sweeping would be, they wouldn't be getting up any dirt off the parking lot.
Well, I just think about it from a standard parking lot as an example for a grocer, at any given point in time, or a retail store, there's going to be trash out and those get trash pickup. So that's what I'm alluding to.
Trash pickup is fine. I just don't want to have to be running a street sweeper around the parking lot more than once a week.
Yeah, no, I get that. Thank you.
Okay.
And then in terms of the restrooms, can you tell me why you're only putting one facility out there, especially if you have multiple drivers that are arriving for their shift, and so somebody's got to spend a little bit more than a minute in there, and that becomes a problem, and then are we really creating a problem by only having one? So
Well, my understanding is it's two bathrooms, male and female.
okay, well that's,
And then I'm not sure how many places there are within that.
okay, all right, well it
I
says
think Todd's indicating 4. Is that correct, Todd?
perfect. Okay, good. I just want to make sure it wasn't just one.
And then obviously, as the drivers head to the facility, they would have time while loading the vans to be able to use the facilities in the delivery station itself.
Yeah. Thank you. So then, Larry, when you were talking about the traffic, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. I know you mentioned the word Route 2. The traffic problems that I hear are the ones when 495 has an accident. And so if I'm coming northbound on 495 and there's an accident, and I know about it from my GPS, I'm going to get off at the Boxborough exit and then wind my way through Boxborough and winding up in what's called Liberty Square on Taylor Street, hanging a left, and I get to my facility. So I don't have to deal with that highway traffic on 495. So that's the one that I hear a lot about. And I'm sure it impacts Route 2. And we've heard from our neighbors in Boxborough that that's their concern.
Is that for the van drivers or for the tractor trailers?
I think Anna's asking about the van drivers. So if 495 is all backed up, where are the drivers going to go? They're already at the facility and they want to leave, so they're not going to be able to go. They probably can go 495 south. It's a question of if it's back up on 495 north, where are they going to go? It's that kind of thing. It's the people that are leaving the facility. The people that are already out, there's not much we can do about that, but it's the people that are leaving the facility. Am I putting words in your mouth, or is that what you're asking, Anna?
Well, You are sort of putting words in my mouth. But what I was talking about is exactly that if drivers are coming back to the facility and they're encountering that big, huge backup on 495, and the only way to circumvent it is to sit there on the highway and deal with it, or get off at the Boxborough exit and come the back route through Boxborough up Liberty Square, that second option is the one that residents don't want to have happen.
Yeah, but Anna, in fairness to, we're all going to do it. It's not going to matter who's on 495. Then everybody on 495 is going to get off 495. You know, we're going to be, you know, half the time you're directed to get off 495.
Well,
So
it's one thing if the police is directing the traffic, obviously, but if people are just doing it out of their own volition, then that's part of what concerns people, because so much of traffic is already doing that. And so the question would be then, what can be done for the van drivers if there is no police presence to stay on 495, to not add to the existing traffic? That's essentially what they're asking, is if there isn't augmented additional traffic from the vans when there are accidents on 490.
So, Anna, one other point to make to that. I seem to be having an echo right now. Are you getting that?
Yes.
No. Okay. So the vans that return to the site are generally coming back between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. And that's when traffic is relatively light on 495. So you're a bigger expert than I if you're driving this every day, but it seems to be that most of those accidents happen during peak hours. And that's when the congestion happens. So if it is a AM or PM accident, peak hour accident, the bulk of the vans would be coming back to the site after those hours.
Okay. Well, I appreciate what you're saying, and we do have folks that are probably here and might comment to it as well. So I think for now we can put that comment, aside and see if there are any other concerns that are raised about that.
Sure.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
do you have any other more concerns, Anna?
Well, one that I would voice, and that is, I guess, from a technicality, when we talk about the vans that for which Littleton should receive excise tax, we should probably put a number on it rather than language about the vans being parked there overnight. We just don't want it to be circular. I just wanted to be very firm and clear as to what the number is. So if it's 300, it's 300.
Oh, the number of vans. So the parking number, we've gotten to the point of how many spaces and we've modified it accordingly. As far as the vans throughout the year, that will fluctuate. As far as what we may have in the lot, as we discussed, we're going to have our steady state level of operations. And if you guys want a number, we can put that as sort of the minimum we would expect during the year. But any vehicle that's in that lot that's parked there would be that we own and operate, or own and then lease to our delivery service partners. Their garage there, the excise tax goes to Littleton. So I would just be concerned about putting a number on it, given that fluctuation of operations, and then potentially not being in compliance if we aren't operating at that level.
Well, why don't we leave it like this? You're asking for spaces for 350 vans there. Why don't we say 350?
Because what I'm saying is if we're not operating at that level and all of the spaces aren't filled with vans at particular points in the year, because the site's not operating at full capacity for the 350 van spaces, they may not be 350 vans registered to Littleton because there's not that many in operation at the site.
Yeah, but you don't do your registrations on a weekly basis in the town of Littleton. You're gonna have a core number that you're going to commit to that's going to be on the site. And
correct.
If we're approving 350, then I think it's safe to assume that it's going to be 350. You know, we're not talking about the flex vans. We're not talking about anything else like that. We're approving it for 350, why don't we, unless you give us a better reason not to say it's 350, why don't we leave it at 350?
Again, because what we're looking at and what we discussed on the last call is that from the period outside of November 15th to January 15th, we're going to be operating at a lower capacity than the number of spots that are in the lot. We put the number of spots in the lot to allow for that flexibility during peak season. During the peak season, which is 2 months or 2.5 months, however it works out, we may have to bring in supplemental vans that may not be garaged there in order to meet that peak capacity because we're not going to be operating them year round. So we keep that sort of accordion effect in the design to allow us to make sure we're operating the site as efficiently as possible, and every peak season not having to go out and find an auxiliary parking lot to put the vans that we need to operate the facility at that capacity. So we've learned from the other locations that we've operated on a legacy basis that when they didn't have the parking built into the design when we could get it, we ran into trouble around peak where we had to identify off-site parking to meet the needs of the site. So now we design these facilities to, like I said, act like an accordion to be able to flex up at the end of the year. So I think we can get to what that steady state number is, and if you want that as the condition, we can find out what that level is. But I just don't want it to be tied to the full number of sites or full number of spaces, because we might not have that for 9 months of the year.
Okay, well, we need a number, and we need to think about what, once you give us that number, where that leaves us.
Sure, and we'll talk to operations about what will be housed at this site should we get through, obviously all the approvals here.
Okay.
And Mr. Griggs, part of the reason for asking that is because you have provided some preliminary figures as to what that would do to our tax base here in Littleton, and being able to know what that number really is, because what you're describing sounds like it fluctuates, and in fact, we need something a little bit tighter to get our arms around it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Jerry, do you have any questions?
No.
You're good for right now. Jeff, how about you?
I like the mitigation summary. I like the drawing of the trash guardrail. I have a couple comments about the traffic. These were two very large office buildings that, when they were permitted for so many hundreds of people who would be generating possibly more traffic to this site than your vans.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think everything needs to be understood, but I would just point out that there may have been more local traffic generated from these office buildings and the many people I know who worked for digital during the day that lived in this area. Secondly, I'm sort of curious, you're locating this facility here for a reason. You guys are extremely smart. Can you break down where the trips go? Like, how many trips go to Boxborough? How many trips go to, how many deliveries go to Littleton? I don't know if you have that info. You probably do. I don't know. But my point is, the Boxborough letter sort of got my hackles up a little bit, because when I drive around town, and I live here and I work here, there are Amazon vans everywhere on the side of the road, in Boxborough, in Littleton, Harvard, wherever you go. So for anyone in this area who uses your services, which is probably pretty much everyone, I think there's got to be some acknowledgement that with this business that they're patronizing, there are going to be vans on the road. So I just can't get agitated about the traffic thing. And I don't use Amazon. it's not to say another member of my household doesn't use it, but I don't. So that's the comment about the traffic. The excise tax I'm concerned about. I don't understand. You know, the vans that are there are going to be registered somewhere. And I don't understand why you can't commit to a certain number of vans. And
Oh no,
it may very well maybe be 350, and then let you come back to the town and ask for an abatement based on your actual usage.
And I'm not trying to say that we won't commit to a number. I'm just saying that if there's, I don't believe it'll be 350 just because there's 350 spaces. We are willing to commit to garaging the vehicles for this facility in Littleton and the excise tax going to Littleton. That is what we do at all of our sites in the Commonwealth. So I just need to work with our operations folks on what they believe the steady state number of vans that will be garaged there year round, so that we're not saying it's 350 and then after the first year of operations, if it's 325 or 300 or whatever the number that's steady state is, that we're not appearing like we're not meeting our obligation.
Well, what I would say is that your obligation should be for 350, and then if you don't use it, then you can come back and say, please abate my excise, this excise tax number.
But that's not how the excise tax works with the Department of Revenue and in the state. So I from that standpoint, it would be more an abatement from the condition on the planning board, I think, where we would look for, because this would be a condition on our operations is how I would understand it. Correct, Larry?
Correct.
So it would be a condition on our operations. I would just want to make sure that if whatever the number is, we're going to hit it, and that everyone is understanding what that level is, and then we're not putting our operations at risk because we didn't meet the obligation that we were never going to be able to meet in the first place, because we weren't going to have that many vans on site year round.
So you've heard a lot of comments about this issue, so come back and
100%. Well, we will be able to commit to a number.
And then to piggyback on the previous comments about electric vehicles, that's great. This board has approved a Tesla charging station in town. Would you consider providing charging stations at some of the commuter parking spots? We have electric charging stations at the commuter rail station, which are really used quite a bit. And I have questions about the operation of the commuter lots in terms of, the shuttles back and forth and the schedule on this and that. But would you consider providing a couple charging stations at the commuter parking spots?
So that's probably, I'm probably the best guy to answer that. Let us look at it.
Okay.
I want to look at the utilities, what we've got down there, how we can do it. You're talking about a standard charging station, like somebody would plug a electric vehicle into.
Park their car, plug in, get in a train, come back in 8 hours.
Okay. Let us give that some thought and see if we can make it work.
Well, I think that if there's going to be this purported commitment to electric vehicles, maybe that should be, looked at now also. What infrastructure you might need to do that. But whatever, that's a minor point. I think that's my concern. I think that you addressed a lot of my concerns were with trash, toilet. I like the the reduction in numbers. Anyway, I appreciate your efforts.
Thanks.
Hey, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a message that said, yes, we can do some charging stations.
Okay, good.
Sorry, Jeff, I was on mute, but yeah, we're more than happy. Let us look at the utilities and making sure that we can connect them.
Well, if you're going to be bringing in power to melt ice, it seems like you might.
Well, exactly. That's why I think it's actually going to be easy, and where that is coming down. Well, that's a glycol heated system, but we will power down there. So let us make sure and run the tracks
Okay.
I'm almost positive we can
I mean,
accommodate.
that would be a nice symbolic commitment for the people in town who are concerned about, electrification of vehicles.
Of course, yeah, we'll work on that plan.
If we can make it work, we will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Delisa, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, I nothing that people haven't already asked or said. So no,
Okay.
I have nothing
Thanks.
to
All right, I
add.
have a couple more before we bring in the our traffic consultants. I want to talk about the parking lot a little bit. Walk me through the safety issues at the parking lot. So I'm an Amazon driver. I finished my route. I put my little van in my little parking spot. What do I do with the keys and what do I do with the vehicle?
So you've come back to the site.
I'm done for the day.
Correct. So what happens is you drive into the site, you head into the loading zone next to the building. You meet with your manager from your delivery service partner operations, and you meet with the Amazon manager to review your day's delivery. At which point, you go over your efficiencies, you go over your safety check, you go over a vehicle check, and then you head out back to the yard. At which point you're meeting a yard marshal. You're heading to the spot that is designated for the van to be parked in. Park the van. You give the keys to the yard marshal and walk to your personal vehicle and
Okay.
head home.
So the keys will not be in the vehicle overnight.
Correct. They're provided to the yard marshal, especially in locations like this where we have large facilities that have large parking lots. In those instances, we utilize the yard marshal to make sure that that they're not having to walk long distances, like in this facility, back to the site to turn the keys in.
Okay. Is there going to be somebody to monitor the parking lot 24 hours, or is it going to be an issue for the Littleton Police Department to have to run through it in the middle of the night on a regular basis, or is there going to be security out there?
So we take loss prevention, as you can imagine, very seriously, given the products. This site will have, our loss prevention and security systems in place that monitor and take care of all of our locations. Additionally, as the van drivers end for the day, yes, there's a little gap between their completion and when the bulk of the trucks are going to be coming in. But there are associates and there is activity on site, so it's not like a different location where this is going to be laying dormant for the entire overnight period. We do have activity going on, and again, we take loss prevention very seriously.
But you're going to have a building that's about a half mile away from the parking lot. Are you going to have a security force that's going to drive around and check on it, or is it going to rely more on the Littleton Police Department to have to run through it once every couple of hours? I just want to know
for the newly constructed restroom.
No, for the whole facility. You've got 600. You got a couple hundred vans out there.
Yeah. So we have those yard marshals again during the overnight period as well.
So you're gonna have somebody actually driving around checking the parking lot on a regular basis.
I'll confirm with our operations team, but that is my understanding. On sites like this where we have a larger lot or it is a distance away from the building where it can't be monitored from the building itself, yes, we'll utilize the yard marshal in that space.
I'm just reiterating some questions that Chief Plnbrd had. He had one other thing that he and I talked about this. We've got a bunch of people on who want to speak, and I'm going to get to them in a few minutes, and a lot of them are the Boxborough residents who are very concerned about Amazon coming up to the end of the road, and the Littleton residents for that matter, people on Foster and the rest of the roads in town. We've talked about the no right-hand turn. We've also talked about Chief Plnbrd would like to make sure that Amazon is as concerned about the drivers taking no right-hand turn as the drivers are, meaning that we're looking to come up with something in our conditions of approval that we don't want to sit there and police everybody. Hopefully it'll get in everybody's head that the best way to go is to get on the highways and get out of there. But human nature being what it is, we're probably going to look at, and the chief can probably address it better than I can, about some sort of fine if you get caught taking a right hand turn. Other than a small fine to the driver, but making Amazon aware of it and something like that. Because that's the only way people are going to not go through Liberty Square into Boxborough or down Foster Street to the rest of the town of Littleton. Just your thoughts on that. I mean, it's like I said, we understand you're going to have this discussion with your drivers, but we want to make Amazon aware that it's extremely important to us, and that there may be repercussions to Amazon as well as just the drivers.
Okay.
Okay. Can I bring in Tom and Corinne to talk to us briefly about we've heard how the traffic flows are going to go. We know that Amazon, our intention is to make Amazon take that left, go 500 feet down and jump on the ramp on Route 2 and get out of Taylor Street, Littleton as quickly as possible. What are your thoughts on that? And where are you at with the traffic mitigation plan that I presented?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Corinne Tobias from Green International and perform the traffic peer review for the site. We have gone back and forth with a number of different comments with the developer. We did receive their responses in the new site plan. In general, I think the reduction in parking spaces and the commitments on the left turns are big improvements. And they did also agree to a lot of the site plan comments, which have now been addressed, such as, the truck turning apron, which we're concerned about, as well as some site distance issues. So we do think that, we're coming along on the site plan a lot. There's a couple outstanding issues, but we do think we can sort of work to resolve them. I don't think there's anything that's going to hold the whole thing up. Just in general, I think one of the things that will really help is the commitment on future monitoring for the site, in particular, at that intersection, and having it be, the carrot to the stick of whether or not they can expand the parking lot in the future. And so they have committed to some future monitoring for the site on traffic, which will help, hold them to that commitment. So in general, we do think, if everyone's going down to Route 2 and taking those lefts, there is capacity in the existing infrastructure for that. Whether or not, there's still going to be an increase in demand on town services because of the traffic throughout the day. But we do think that the infrastructure itself can handle those trips.
Thank you. Tom, do you have anything to add, or can I open it up to the public?
No, I have nothing to add to what Corinne just said. So
You're still working on the site plan. You're working on the drainage and.
correct. Yes, I can expand upon that. We've completed our traffic review, and we do, as Corinne stated, we expect some back and forth and hope to have a conversation with the applicant and their engineer to help resolve some of those comments. We do need to finish off our stormwater peer review, just as some of the details around the site and the parking lot have been in flux. Didn't quite make sense to fully review the stormwater as they're kind of tied together. So we will be starting that review in more detail next week, in hopes to have those comments wrapped up, prior to Christmas, and keep the peer review moving along.
Okay, and you're now aware that they're planning on donating 50 acres, the buffer all around it, to monitor for our well protection.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Yep. Anyone else? So, Myron, do you have anyone with their hand up? Do you want us? We'll open it up to the public. Hopefully, there's a fair amount of people here. We've got a bit of time. Let's see what the residents have to say, or the interested parties have to say.
Yep. Let's see. First, Joe Knox.
Okay, why don't we start with Mr. Knox? Mr. Knox.
Just a moment. Oh, there we go.
Well, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I appreciate the reduction in the number of parking places, but I just want to make sure and clarify that in the future, we won't be housing vans that are going to be used on other other facilities. And my second comment would be, I understand from what was said by Larry early that if they had to in the congested, that they would use Taylor Street, but it's great that it's probably going to be off peak, but it's still, even though you're going through industrial land, zoned industrial A and B, you end up in the residential zone where people use those roads. Those are just my two comments.
Thank you, Mr. Knox. Maren?
You have the next commenter, John M.
Hello, are you there? John?
Yes, this is John. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this is John Markowitz from Boxborough. I have a couple of questions. The traffic levels that you showed, does that include the peak levels or is that an average level, the diagrams?
Larry, you want to answer that one? That's the 5% going through Boxborough, 5% Foster Street, 80%.
Is that the one he's referring to?
I
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So this is a trip distribution. So this looks at, if you look at the print over here, it says 80% of the vehicles departing the site will use Route 2 or 495. Operations will primarily occur during off-peak hours when highway system has excess capacity. This minimizes the need for local road alternatives unless part of standard delivery route. So in a 24-hour period, the total volume of traffic coming off that site is going to distribute in that manner. And I think as Brad mentioned earlier, this is somewhat of a seasonal. This time of the year, people are shopping on Amazon. There's more deliveries. Other times of the year, there are less. So that's why we presented it as a percentage, trying to indicate where the vehicles are going.
Okay, but do you have any idea of what that would look like during your high peak time?
Let me look for a. So this is a chart. This green color is the existing Taylor Street traffic. So that's what it's like today. And then if we are fortunate enough to get an approval and Amazon starts full operation, then the blue is what is overlaid on top of that. So this is the Amazon traffic added on to the existing Littleton. So the existing Littleton traffic does not go away. That's constant. And then if Amazon begins operations, this is the Amazon traffic. And this is the point that we're trying to make, is that it doesn't make sense to try to push the product out during either the morning or the PM peak. And most of the deliveries occur in this middle point here and then in the evening.
Excuse me, Larry, you're not sharing your screen.
Yeah, you're not sharing.
All right.
I don't know how I got cut off. Let me try that again.
My apologies, sir, for interrupting you.
No, not at all. Let me know if you can. Do you see it now?
Yeah, I can see that, Larry. Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Are these available if we wanted to try? Are these available on the Littleton site or?
These have been submitted.
Okay.
If it's helpful, I could send just these graphs to Maren in the morning if she wanted to post them separately. Whatever makes sense, we'll do. But you probably can't remember what I just said, so would it be helpful if I said it again with the chart?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the, let me try to get a pointer here. This is the weekday daily traffic volumes on Taylor Street. So if you look down here, it says existing Taylor Street traffic is that green color. So without the project, tomorrow and in the future, the traffic on Taylor Street is going to look like that. And what's key is the time chart. You know, this is hour increments beginning at midnight and continuing to midnight the next day. So the green is the Littleton traffic existing today. Amazon begins operations, it receives trucks at night with product, and then during this period, there's not a lot of vehicle trips off the site. You can see the volume of Amazon traffic is really in this midday point, and then evening deliveries. So this is one of those operations that is off peak in terms of commuter and commuting peak volumes during AM or PM peak times.
Yeah, so Larry, when I look at that, I'm looking at the, in the morning, I see a significant peak or significant increase in traffic that's not there. Looks around 8 o'clock to me in the morning. You start to see it increase, and then it increases through till what, around 11 or 10?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a significant increase during those hours. And then there's a significant increase later in the day. Now, but aren't most of your deliveries, these are the deliveries from the smaller vehicles, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. What are your hours of operation?
Well, I'm going to let Brad chime in, but my understanding is the tractor trailers come onto the site late at night, early in the morning.
Yeah. So
Sorry, can
from
I
an
ask
hours
you-
of operation standpoint, it is a 24/7 operation at the facility. If
Yeah.
that,
Larry, can I ask you a question about this while we're on it? So this is the total traffic leaving the site. You're talking only 5% of it's going to go to Boxborough. I think what Mr. Mitchell is actually asking is what's the increase he's going to see of that 5% that's actually going to be going his way during this time that you're talking about? You're talking an added 537 trips. What would he expect during the cycle of the day that the 5% of the total would be? I think that's an easier number for him to. This is the whole everything leaving Amazon, all different directions.
Well, of this chart, 5% would come his way, and most of it goes out.
no, Larry. This includes our associate trips. This includes the tractor trailers. So it'd only be a portion of this, which would be the van trips. As we indicated, there are 350 van parking spaces. So even if we were to theoretically operate the site at 100%, which is not what we do, you're looking at roughly 17 or so vans heading to Boxborough, and that's at the full van parking amount of 350
for the course of the whole day.
And that's again, the vans depart the site beginning around approximately 10 a.m. and they're spread out over the next 2 to 3 plus hour period. So it's.
Yeah, but if you.
And I think, Brad, one thing to add to that, Brad, is the fact that the only reason they're going to Boxborough would be to make deliveries at Boxborough.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. I mean, that's an assumption, I would say, but that's fine. But if you have 350 vans and you're going to tell me that 5% is going to go through Boxborough, but that's assuming that the vans make one trip a day. I'm assuming
if they're heading to Boxborough, the 5% number that we're talking about is most likely making local deliveries in Boxborough.
Okay.
That's why they're heading in that, or in the general Boxborough area. So they'd be heading in that direction to make local deliveries, of which those packages are already being delivered today, whether by our vans, by the United States Postal Service, UPS, or other providers. So those vans that are already heading in that direction now from this site are already in Boxborough making deliveries today. They're just originating from a different location.
Okay, so Brad, are all the vans that you're going to be putting on the site, are they all going to be identified as Amazon vans?
So the vans that are on site, our goal is to get as many of them to be branded Amazon vans as possible. The bulk of the year, that will be the case. As the site ramps up for peak, as I mentioned earlier on the call, during the holiday period from mid-November to mid-January, we have to utilize additional vans because we don't keep them on site year-round. Those vans may not be Amazon branded vans during that period, which is why, if you order from us, the bulk of the year, you may have an Amazon van pull up in front of your home or business to make your deliveries. And then during the end of the year, it may be a different style of van that pulls up to make your deliveries from us, or it may be delivered by USPS or UPS.
Okay, so the 300 that you're talking about, the 350 vans, that doesn't include what you would have during peak. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The 350 vans that we're talking about, when you have your peak season, okay, so from November through January, that does not include, that number would be higher than the 350.
No. So that's what I'm saying is the vans on site, we have 350 spaces. That's what we would be operating through this location. Now, we that's why we build the site to accommodate for that amount through the site.
Okay. And
so the 350 is the theoretical peak of this site, of this facility location.
Okay. And do you anticipate any of the large trailer trucks driving through Boxborough?
Now, Larry, that information, I don't believe so. Given the vicinity to the highway and what we're talking about here, I don't believe so. But Larry or the team from his,
So, Brad, that would be
Northbridge.
prohibited by the sign because the sign says left turn only except for local deliveries, and a local delivery clearly is not a tractor trailer.
Okay, but what about if the tractor trailer is coming into the facility?
Same thing. It comes off of Route 2 and 495.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're expanding the turning radius on the inbound side of that curve, because that's where the tractor trailers are coming in from, so they can make that turn.
Okay, but one of the concerns that was raised earlier, if there's an accident on 495 headed northbound, that traffic would most likely get off at Boxborough at Route 111 and then follow. If it uses their own GPS systems, it might take it through some of the narrow roads in Boxborough, which we'd like to try to avoid.
Well, the issue with the tractor trailers are going to be coming in late at night. Some of them will be during the day, but the bulk of them, correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, are going to be coming in at night to replenish the facility.
That's the way it works, Mark.
Mr. Mitchell, can we ask some other people? There are other people with their hands raised.
Sure. The only comment I want to make is I worked at that facility when I worked for Digital, and the difference with the traffic was people drove there, they stayed there, and then they went home. There was not a lot of traffic during the day. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Maureen, the next person with their hands up, please.
Yes, George Sanders. We'll bring him in just a moment.
Can we get off the Larry screen? Or am I the only one that's still looking at Larry's screen?
I'll do that.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Sanders.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you give us your concern? And we have a lot of people, so maybe could we be brief, please?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief.
You're never brief.
I sent a letter to the board there with regard to some concerns I have. One, about the snow. They're going to truck the snow off of that property, for one. Two is that the lot where the parking is that lot 151 and the one up front is 153, or does it reverse that?
Reverse.
Reverse, okay, so 151 is up. So your distribution point, you have 153 where all the vehicles going to be parked down there. Where's the location? Is that at 151 that the tractor trailers and the vehicles, the vans are going to be loaded up and going out?
So we've been through the operations for a couple of meetings, but I'll try to describe it, and I can share the screen if the chair would like me to.
Please.
But you want me to show the screen?
Sure, probably it's easier for them to understand.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Not yet, Larry.
You're seeing it?
No, not yet.
Okay. Let me do this. How's that?
I see that.
Okay. Brad, you're the expert on this. Do you want to run through the operations?
Yeah, I'll just real fast for the gentleman on the phone. So the red area on the right-hand side of the screen is where the tractor trailers will come in and out of the site predominantly during the overnight period. That's on the lower right-hand side of the screen there. The green area just to the left, that's where the vans will be loaded inside the building. The purple area just adjacent to it, that's where the vans park before going inside to be loaded. And then as they come out, they head up the road and then out of the facility from there.
Okay, my question is, how many vans are going to be up there at one time? And are these vans going to be running?
No, so when they drive to the green, the first wave would drive to the green zone and then they shut their van off while they're being loaded.
Okay.
The vans driving to the purple zone outside of the building do the same thing. They drive to the purple zone and then they park and wait for the area there to exit, for the vehicles to empty out of the building. And then from there, they head into the building. They start their vans back up, head into the building, shut them off, and are loaded.
Okay, thank you on that. My question about trucking the snow off of the property there, will that be done? You got a designated area that you're going to pile snow up on that property?
So Todd can chime in on this. We have snow storage areas on the site, and as with any facility like this, they're designed so that you store the snow on the property until you reach a certain volume, and when the snow storage facilities are full, then it gets removed or melts, depending upon weather conditions.
Okay, I understand. I got a couple more questions here, Mr. Chairman, about Amazon drivers. What is your policy on Amazon drivers that drives reckless out there, you know, in the town of Littleton? We are concerned about our children, our citizens, and so forth. What is your policy on them getting violations? And what is the policy as far as what action Amazon takes, and how many violations can a driver get before you let them go?
So the van drivers are third-party independent contractors that we work with. They're small businesses, entrepreneurs, logistics companies in the area that we contract with to run our delivery routes and handle our capacity supply needs. So those drivers have management on sites for the companies and the businesses that we work with to handle our delivery routes. At the beginning of each one of their routes, they work with their manager and an Amazon manager on site to review the day's delivery routes and delivery capacity. They review safety tips, and training is provided on a regular basis to update on different safety and traffic requirements in the region. We take safety of both our drivers and our customers very seriously, and so we are constantly working to improve that. The drivers at the beginning of when they're brought in and we bring in a new company, those drivers are put through a rigorous training process with both in-class and driving, live driving exercises, and then they are built up with lower level capacity where they first shadow a veteran driver and then are given lower capacity delivery routes and then are brought up to full delivery routes through that process. If a driver at the end of their shift, their route is reviewed again with their manager on site at the end of the day and an Amazon manager to make sure that they're delivering efficiently and safely for themselves and for our customers in the area. If there are incidents with those drivers, we take those very seriously. They're reviewed. If there's an incident with a driver, it depends on the severity of those incidents. We will potentially, for a minor incident, we would have additional trainings. Multiple minor incidents, that driver may be suspended. If there are significant issues with driver behavior, the companies themselves will have reduction in routes and then ultimately would be terminated. So not only does the driver have potential impacts, but the companies that we contract with also have consequences if their drivers are not performing safely through their delivery route process.
Thank you for that. My last question is on the environment. From an environmental standpoint, greenhouse gases is something that's very important nowadays. And as you know, Route 2 and 495 and Littleton sitting in the middle of it, you know, there's a lot of carbon emissions that are being put out there. And my concern is on the vans that you bring in and park in that facility. Who is going to check and ensure you don't have any leaking vans that are leaking oil from the engine or the transmission or the differential onto that property out there? How often are these vans checked for safety in that sense, environmental? Who's going to check that? Who's going to do that?
So at the end of every delivery route, it's not only are they reviewing their delivery route for safety and efficiency purposes, they do a safety check of the van every evening when that van returns to make sure that there are no issues with the van itself and that the van is safe and ready for operations the next day. So these vans are checked on a daily basis at the conclusion of their routes.
What about under the vehicle? That these items that I mentioned, items I mentioned is under the vehicle.
So it is a full, it's not just a visual inspection of the body of the van itself for dents or scratches. It's a full safety check, tires underneath the vehicle. It's parked there for a bit of time while that route is being reviewed. And so if anything were to be leaking underneath, it would be noticed. Additionally, we try to keep these vans, at a relatively new level to make sure that they are, well received and well operated, so that we don't have to run into issues with the older vehicles types and those sort of conditions happening with the vans themselves on the location. So as the vans get older and more susceptible to these kind of issues, they are rotated out and new vans are brought into the fleet.
Mr. Sanders, I can help you with that one as well. This is a water resource area. The parking lot will have grease trap, oil and gas separators, and a maintenance program where they're going to have to be looked at and monitored on a regular basis, just to make sure that no runoff from the vehicles goes into the water protection area. So that'll be part of our conditions of approval as well.
Okay, I have others, but I'm going to give up because you got a lot of people there. I thank you, County, Mr. Chairman, and I thank the gentleman for his remarks.
Thank you. Marin?
Yep, Dina Lipari.
Hello, Dina, are you there? Dina, please, excuse me.
Diana, sorry.
Diana.
There we go. I got an unmute. My name is Diana Lipari. I'm from Boxborough. And I just wanted to ask a question. What is the definition? Well, I have a question and a comment. I want to know what the definition of local deliveries is, because certainly in some sense, the vans are all making local deliveries. I would assume this particular facility only services certain zip codes. So, for example, you know, what constitutes a local delivery? Turning right and going to some of the people that are in Littleton and only Boxborough? Or is it, would you consider Harvard a local delivery? So that's one concern. And I'm going to go on to my other comments so you can just, I don't want to go back and forth with you here. So perhaps you could comment on that. The other concern, the major concern that people have in Boxborough is not about the vans going out. Obviously, we have deliveries all the time going back and forth everywhere. The point here is not to make Boxborough a thoroughfare. So particularly the route which goes along Taylor Street, which accesses Liberty Square, and then accesses Hill Road, which is a lovely, convenient cut through to Mass Ave, possibly even going down Picnic Street. Those kinds of cutoffs take you to Massachusetts Avenue, which becomes quite a nice thoroughfare getting you to Harvard at all. So the point here is, and I know I listened to your presentation at the last meeting. I saw that Mr. Griggs went into great detail about how these drivers are going to be monitored. I would assume that those delivery routes are set in advance by the companies. They look at what packages need to be delivered, and then they hand these drivers a delivery route. So the request would be that those managers that they forget the route called Liberty Square, Hill Road, Massachusetts Avenue as the way to route their trucks on a regular basis. Obviously, if there are deliveries on those streets specifically, that's another story. But it's about the idea of getting this to be some sort of a pass-through. So that's what people are concerned about. It's the continuation of traffic going back and forth. And the other part of this is it's not only going out, it's coming back. So if you could answer my question about the definition of local deliveries, that would be helpful.
So I'm trying to understand. I mean, that would be going right, is what you're referring to?
Yes, you said that you're going to put a sign up, and I know this enforcement is a big issue. Obviously, how do you stop people from turning right? But because we're in Boxborough, it would be a right turn, and you said you would put a sign up that said only for local deliveries. So the definition of local deliveries is important, and letting drivers know what that definition is. I mean, is that 1 mile? Is it 2 miles? Is it automatically, if you're going to Harvard, that could be considered a local delivery too in some definition? So I'm asking that question, and I also asking that those deliveries not be routed along that particular route, because it is a route which is used, and it's an obvious route, which is Taylor to Liberty Square to Hill to Mass Ave.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. So to Harvard, and I'm not part of our logistics as far as mapping, but we do have the ability that we can, on the vans, work with our partners to exclude routes, except for when they're making a quote unquote local delivery. So that also, in addition to the signage that we're talking about, can help limit the traffic in that regard. What the definition would be for local is something that I'm not sure I can necessarily comment at this time until I'd have a better understanding with our operations team on the number that would be heading there. As I said, we're talking about 5% based on the analysis that was run. At full capacity, we're talking about 17 to 20 vans at most heading in the direction of Boxborough on local streets. And that's over a several-hour period. The remainder of the vans would be heading in the direction of the major thoroughfares. And in looking at the map, most likely heading on Route 2 to 111 to get to areas such as Harvard. So I think from that standpoint, our drivers use the most efficient process, and that's built into our routing systems to make sure that they're not utilizing local roads except making local deliveries.
So is there a way to note this particular route? As you just said, would you, and I'm talking to the Littleton Planning Board, make that request that route be excluded as a normal passageway through Boxborough?
Um,
In our discussions that we've
Yeah,
had,
but wait,
in our discussions
wait,
that
can we just back up for a second? I thought the last mile facility was anything within a 45-minute range.
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, you're going to run an algo that calculates the shortest distance on the route, right?
Exactly. And
So when
that's
you
why the
run
poll,
that- So
that's why
you're
the
going to
poll,
have data, but that means you'll have data over time that shows where your trucks are going on average, right?
correct.
You're invariably, you're going to run across streets that you commonly use within that 45-minute bubble. There's no way to avoid it.
But I think that's what the study, that was what the study that Larry showed earlier demonstrated on the heat map of where we anticipate the routes to be heading towards.
So you could basically create a pro forma for this board that would show the local streets that would likely be impacted. You should be able to calculate it.
And that would be helpful.
I think from the distribution, Larry, if you can share the map again. That shows the traffic breakdown. We're talking about 5% of traffic heading towards Boxborough.
No, I'm saying just you could show it by street. If you define local as, I don't know, a 10-minute bubble. If you took a 10-minute circle, drew it around the site, then you could calculate what the roads would be. You'd know your delivery pattern.
I'd have to check with our operations team, but yeah, I believe that to be a possibility as far as what we would be able to do. I know that on other sites, when we have had issues with adjacency and routes, we've been able to shut those off except when deliveries are being made to those streets. Now, how far out of a radius that can go, becomes difficult because then you get into, as they head out and work their way closer to the site. Again, I would just need to talk to our operations team around what we'd be able to accomplish on that, just given the radius. But we can certainly work on making sure that what has been displayed is coming to fruition as the site operates.
In our discussions with Chief Plnbrd, the word contiguous was taught. When we talked about it, we talked about contiguous. So you would have a van be able to take a right if it was going to make deliveries into Boxborough. It couldn't take that right if it was going to make deliveries into Concord. It'd have to jump back on the highway. Same thing if you were going to go down Foster Street. You could use Foster Street if you were making deliveries to Littleton, but you couldn't use Foster Street if you were making deliveries to Westford. We were talking contiguous to the routing that way in the 5% that are going to be using local roads. So that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're talking about for the sign, and that's what we're talking about if we have to police it, that's how we're going to be looking at it. You shouldn't be on that road unless on going through Liberty Square, on Hill Road or Picnic Road or any of those, unless you have a package that's in that general area in Boxborough, not Harvard, nothing like that, contiguous.
Well, that's the definition then of local deliveries.
Contiguous to
Contiguous. Okay. Well, I really appreciate that clarification.
Thank you. Next, we're running a little late. Why don't we do this for another 10 minutes? Is the board okay with another 10 minutes to take local input?
There's nobody else with their hand raised.
Oh, good. Good. All right. So moving forward, we're going to continue this till the next one. Obviously, we'd like an idea of the vans involved, a number that we can all discuss. I think by that time, Larry, you should be all set with Green on all the outstanding issues that we have. We're looking to meet on the 7th of January. And it's my hope that we can come to a consensus and then start working on conditions of approval if everything goes the way I hope it goes. Does that work for you?
Yeah, so from our schedule, that's very helpful, Mark. If it seems as though we've been able to whittle it down to a few tasks, and we've seen the reviews done by Green, and in our opinion, their comments are good and valid, and there's nothing that we can't incorporate into the plan. So I think we can resolve the peer review
Okay.
Resolve's probably not the right word. I think we can reach an agreement on what should be done with respect to those comments.
Great.
What would be great for us, if you could consider this, is, time, because we would like to bring it to a conclusion, one way or the other. And we're hoping it's a favorable conclusion. So if we could sort of target next January, the next meeting, as one where we could potentially close the hearing and then consider the conditions, that would be helpful to our whole design team.
Okay, well, let's hope that we can get all the issues that we raised answered. If there's some other concerns, we can get it to you, Larry, so we can get an answer quickly, so that we don't see it in the last minute, and we can work on it from there. How's that?
That's terrific. And that was actually part of the letter that I sent to you. My intent was to make sure I covered everything. It sounds like I did. I don't think anybody brought up issues that we haven't listed in that letter. And I think a lot of those things could actually be the basis of conditions, if you're so inclined to write conditions on the decision.
I mean, I definitely do want to talk to the chief and town council again about, obviously, we know Boxwell has a big concern about people using it. So we want something on that condition of approval, that right turns only, that we'll get some verbiage to you for that. Because I think that's important to not only the residents of Littleton, but that we do hear the residents of Boxboro's concern, and we'll do the best we can. We can't do much with somebody that's going northbound and there's an accident on 495, but we can do the best we can for people leaving the site, not to impact the contiguous towns around us.
Right. Good.
Anyway, does the board have any last questions or concerns before we continue this till, what time are we doing this, Maren, on January 7th?
Let's see, we put 80 Air Road at 6:45, and we'll have one new application to hear. Probably two new applications to hear. So would you like to do this early?
Yeah, I think earlier, can we do like 7:30?
I would recommend 7:15. That gives us half an hour on 80 Air Road.
Okay. 7:15, good?
It's great for us.
Good for everybody else? Great. Okay, so we'll continue. I'll make a motion that we continue this till 7:15 on January 7th. Someone want to second that?
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Lisa? Yep, she's an aye. Jeff, you hiding somewhere? Anna?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
What?
There's no way that counts doing this. No.
I'm not even, that screen's not even there. Good. All right. So that's great. So we'll continue this till then. Thank you all for your input. Maren, do we have anything else? Are we done after this as well?
That was it for agenda items. Yep.
So we're good. So everybody, if I don't talk to you, have a great holiday season. And thank you all for your input and the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No close?
Yeah, I think we're close. Corey, how did I do?
Sir, you didn't do a roll call vote to close.
Oh, yeah, I've taken roll vote. Yes.
There's still three of us to close.
All right. Jeff, will you want to vote to close?
I move that we close this meeting.
All right, great. Second. Anna seconds. All those in favor, Jeff?
Yes.
Anna? Yes.
Yeah.
Jerry? Yes. I'm a yes. Thank you all. And Myron?
Thank you, Mark.
No,
thank you.
No, pleasure. How are the Patriots doing? Anyone know?
Terrible. Don't even look at the score right now.
Is it really that bad?
It's bad. It's